What's up? Welcome back to another edition of Wise Guy Wednesdays with Bill Crooks, my partner in crime, Bill Crooks, where we talk about basically, we basically discuss anything we want to. That's the joy of it. Is we just come on here. Look, this is one of my favorite times of the week, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
You too?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I work all week nonstop, or if I have put the computer down, I might go fishing or on an adventure or something. But then most of the time I'm just working. So I look forward to having these times with you, just kicking it with you, talking about stuff. And today we're going to talk about the justice system, which is a misnomer. Which, if you don't know what a misnomer is, it means it's the wrong word. It's used wrong because there's very little justice in Michigan. I mean, not just in Michigan, but the country's justice system. We'll get into that. For now, I'm going to plug our thing apparel. I'm wearing this hat, and we custom make them to your shitty, huh? Your shirt, like mine says Detroit on it. Well, it says our thing, but on the back it says Detroit. This is not my favorite hat, but I just grabbed it, whatever, cause I like this one better. But it's got a different type of bill. And then I also like it backwards better. But I didn't. I was going to get the logo put on here or put our thing here, and I just got lazy. Anyways, and if you notice that my skin's a little red in certain areas, well, there's a story behind that. When I was on spring break in 1991 in Daytona Beach, which is a crazy story. Trust me, it's a crazy week. I got a little bit of a sunburn, not terrible, but pretty whatever. And then ever since that day, my skin in the summertime, if I get a lot of sun in any given moment, and I got quite a bit the other day when I was trout fishing, that I get my skin gets these little dry rashy spots. And then what I got to do is put cortisone cream over them, and then for a day or two, and then they go away, and then they just vanishes. But it's a weird thing. I've had it ever since Daytona Beach spring break 1991. It's just I've never even gone to a doctor to find out what it is. It's some kind of strange, rash of some kind, but. Anyways, that's what
I'm going to explain the splotches. I didn't think we were going back to spring break.
Right? Yeah. No. I don't think my wife would appreciate me talking about spring break on the live on the air. Those are the type of stories she's not a big fan of because I ran around like a little hoe bag chasing girls for a week. Well, I just worked out and excuse me, my knee. I wanted to tell you about my knee, Bill. So I work out every Friday. I deadlift. And so 2 days, when you do your workout, the second day is usually the worst, right? So Friday evening, I deadlift and do back and shoulder. And then Sunday, I have church in the morning. So before church, you stand there and kind of singing and worship for about a half an hour. It's quite a long time. And anyways, my legs, I had two problems. One, I just deadlifted 2 days ago, so my nose isn't. And then I just need to stretch. I feel I'm getting old, so I wish I could stretch. But I have not old, but new shoes in that are not broken in. If the shoes aren't broken in, they're kind of hard on your feet or whatever. But standing there, after a while, my legs start burning and shaking. Just standing there. Maybe it's because I'm overweight, I guess, whatever. But I have to sit down sometimes. So while I sat down to stretch, right before church started, I was squeezing my knee, and there was a little pop, just a little pop. Think, what I'm saying? I felt a little tweak. And I knew right then, I knew it was 50-50. This could go bad where it gets bad or it could be nothing. And it happens. But it went the bad way. So I woke up. And the next day, that evening, or that afternoon, I went trout fishing. And I ended up having to climb down this big-ass hill and crash through the wilderness and the weeds and then climb over all these logs and log jams and crap. And it just got worse and worse and worse. Now it's all sore. But on a positive note, I was still able to do legs today. I was still able to go in the basement, get some squats in. I went really light, just good form. The set's 50. So anyways, that's me. How are you doing, Bill? Enough about me.
Doing good. This week I finally started going to a place called Spineworks and getting my back and neck work done.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does it help?
Oh, God, yes, man.
Really?
I'm talking every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is damn, my neck hurts, And I try to do something, but nothing ever works. I go in, he shows the x-rays. It looks bad. But he immediately takes my head and just goes, crack.
Oh.
I can feel it. He's like, that ought to feel better. At least you can move your head now. And he's like, come back every couple of days for a while, and then we'll get you on a program. I guess there's like things you can do, but he's like,
Yeah,
I
exercise.
can't even get you there right now because you're all, it's funny. They show your bones and stuff, and then a computer generates a line of where it should be. And I'm like, 2 inches here, 2 inches there. I'm like, do I walk around like a monster, like Quasimodo? How am I?
How are you even walking around, bro?
Well, he's showing like it from the side. He's like, like my side looks like that. He's like, yeah, your head's over here. It should be like this.
I feel bad for anybody who's got back and like neck issues, things like that, because I've been there. Like,
I didn't consider it that bad. It was just, uncomfortable. But 2 visits, and I'm already like, oh my God, that's a lot better.
Well, if it's working, man, go for it. There's not a new chiropractor. There is a chiropractor in one of the little towns near me. A lady at church said he's a miracle worker. He's a Christian too, and he does really good. So I'm gonna set up an appointment in there and have him see if he can help me with my headaches. You know what I'm saying? They've been all right for like the last week, not terrible. They've been kind of back to normal, if you call it normal. But for a while, they're on and off. They're bad. They're getting really bad every day. So, but
the place I'm going though, it's called Spineworks, and they do it different. No insurance. Okay, you have to pay cash.
Right.
And, when I went to my dad's chiropractor, it's like $200 a visit, and I'm like, my ass is going to get salty, right? They don't take Medicaid, nothing like that. I go in, x-rays, the first examination, the adjustment, $50. Now every time I go, flat $20. That's
right.
They don't have the bureaucracy of
scamming.
All that crap. They don't have the administration, people that have to figure this out, read forms, do all that stuff. He goes, man, just come in, give me $20 and you're good. And it's
5 minutes.
Cool. No appointment necessary. Walk in. And they got doctors just beautiful. Like, get over here, crack.
I got a funny story. When I was about 19 years old, that's when I was doing them bodybuilding shows. One of my cousins, a Toko, he's a bodybuilder, and he said, you got to go to this chiropractor. It's right in the corner of 9 and Greater Mac. He says, he'll fix you up, neck pain, back. I said, whatever. He's like, your first visit, it's free, whatever. I said, all right. So I go in there, and the guy I'm with my cousin Joe, the one you've spoken to. He's with me. And he sits in the chair. He's like, get ready for this. And the chiropractor cracks my back a couple ways and my neck, whatever. So I'm like, he's like, do you feel better? I'm like, yeah, feels better, I guess. So then a couple days later, it's so funny, man. Joe was in the gym, and he said something. I was facing the window. I wasn't really paying attention. And he said, like, how'd you like that chiropractor the other day? Like, he's fishing to see that I'll say something nice because there's a reason. And I loud as hell go, man, F that mother effer. All he did was freaking snap and bust me up and send me on my way. Wants to charge me $75. Fuck out of here. That's what it was. It was $75. And I didn't pay him. He said he'll bill me. And then so like a week later, Joe sees me and he thinks I'm going to say something nice about the guy because he's behind me in the gym. So the chiropractor is in the gym working out behind me. And so Joe walks up and goes, what do you think about that freaking chiropractor? I said, F that mother effer. All I mean is bust me up, send me my way. Wants to charge me $75? Get the frick out of here with that bull crap. And Joe's like, Al. I'm like, what? He's like, right behind you. And I turn around and the dude's smiling. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? I'm just busting your balls. I'm just messing around. He's like, don't worry about it. But I actually did go back and get fixed up a couple times, but I never paid him. He kept sending me bills, which I never paid. It's just douchebag, but
so you got
par for the course. Par for the course for me, anyways. I want to say hi, Nikki, Sandra, Dan. What's up, buddy? Dan, I was by your house Sunday. I went trout fishing, and I went to Bush Creek. He told me where to go, and I caught a bunch of little ones. I probably caught like 10, 12 little ones. I did lose a couple nice, like 8, 10 inchers. For whatever reason, the 2 big ones I hooked got off, and then I kept all these little ones. But it was fun. I was by your house, kind of, and I thought about stopping to see you, but I had an appointment to take my Jeep to look at because it needs a repair. I thought it needed a repair. Let me tell you a quick story, Bill. This is funny about how karma and everything. I've talked about karma lately.
Well, I remember you were worried about the Jeep.
Yeah, it was making a noise when you turned to the right. It sounded like a grinding noise, whatever. I was worried about it. Took it into one mechanic said it's going to be $3,000. The other mechanic said it needs new U-joints in the back, which is, you have to put a drive shaft because they come together, which was $600. So I'm like, all right. I mean, that's a lot of freaking money, $600 for some U-joints, but you had to do it. And then the guy, so I leave and the grinding is still there. And I call him, I say, hey man, what's wrong? He's like, I think you need a little bit loose tie rod and a little bit, it's like another $900. And the first guy told me $3,000 to do it all.
Right.
Anyways, I told my wife, find a backyard mechanic online, local, you know what I'm saying? Find a local guy. Like, I want him to get a third opinion. So meet this cool dude. I drive. He's about 20 miles away. He's got a hoist. He's a master mechanic who works at a major like dealership garage, but he works in his garage at night, side money, whatever. I said, dude, I'm just looking for an honest freaking mechanic, man, to tell me the truth. I give him my Jeep, calls me back the next day. He says, listen, the wheel well, because you have a lift on your Jeep and you have bigger tires, oversized tires, the wheel well inside, when you turn, it like rubs a little bit, but it looks like somebody cut the part out where it rubs so it wouldn't rub. For whatever reason, that thing kind of came loose and moved a couple inches. So I had to cut around it and like tighten something up or whatever. So I'm like, well, how much I owe you? He's like, $50. He's like, I had to put it up a couple times to figure out what it was. But I'm like, dude, can I give you a hug? I'm a hugger. That's literally what I say, bro. I said, dude, I'm a hugger. Can I give you a hug? Thank you for being honest. One guy wants $3,000. One guy wants $900. And it's like a $50 repair, and he's like, the ball joints in your tie rod, like, probably within the next 25,000 miles you want to get them done, but they're not, at any risk. I'm like, I'm not, I'm just going to sell it. I don't have, ball joints. Let somebody else, deal with that. So he was like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry. There's a brake light that comes on, but that's because the computer needs to be reset, and you got to go to a dealership. And the dealership will be like, oh yeah, we can reset your computer, but it's going to be $400. You know what I mean? I'm not paying for. That's the way they scam. They do it. It's designed that way. So when the sensor or the computer fails, you got to go reset it, and that means you got to go in and pay for service at the dealership. So it's all freaking scam. I'm like, F you, mother effers, man. Anyways, that's my life, dude. So I was by your house, Dan, but I didn't have time to stop by. I wanted to though. So.
Hey, Nikki was saying she wants our thing gear that says Sicily. That's doable.
Yeah, I got some. I mean, I have one. I have a shirt that says Sicily our thing in the back. Yeah, that's they're at the website. Just go pick your garment or design. Just go click on the designs, and then when you hit on the design, click on it. It'll give you a bunch of choices of garments, different shirts, t-shirts, V-necks, shirts, women's, whatever. And then so like you would want, if you wanted women's designs, there's like 3 or 4 women's designs. 3, I think. You click on one of those and pick it, but it'll then ask you, what do you want on the back? And you just click Sicily, Italy, and most of the major cities are there. So you just click it and then check out, and boom, you'll have it in probably 4 days. Pretty quick. So make sure I got to get you in some, Bill.
I got a big leather coat, man.
I know, but for the summer.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Shit like this. You get Joshua in some of this stuff. He probably can't wear something like this to school, but
yeah, and even worse, he would.
He's on here now, or is that you talking extraordination?
Oh, that's me.
Oh, okay.
He's at a football game in Decatur.
Is he playing or is just watching?
He's playing some kind of scrimmage, though. It's not a real game yet.
That's cool. I don't blame him, dude. When I was a kid, I would play football, any football I could play. Scrimmage, anything, bro. I'd drop on a dime, put pads on, and say, "Let's go." And my fervor was so fervent that a lot of people didn't like playing with me because I was a little overboard. You know what I'm saying? And kind of violent. I didn't really want to hurt anybody, but sometimes I accidentally did. In fact, I broke my coach's ribs one time. Yeah, that was sad. He basically bet me that he couldn't stop me from getting the quarterback. I'm pass rushing. And so I said, okay, let's bet. If I get to the quarterback, you shave your head bald. If you stop me, then I shave my head bald. I got 4 seconds or whatever it was. I just blasted through him, dude. There was no finesse or I didn't use any mechanics. I just put my shoulder down. Wham! Lifted him off the ground, broke his ribs. He goes flying back. I'm on the quarterback in like 1.5 seconds. But I felt bad because he was a good dude, and I broke his ribs, and he had to shave his head. People were like, "What the hell, Mr. Wise? You got cancer?" She's like, no, I bet Lindblom a freaking bet, and I lost. That's funny. I'd love to find that guy. He was a really good dude. Good dude. Anyway, so Justice. I never did hear back from Anthony Bucci. I can look one more time. I've been watching.
If he comes, that's great. If not, I can tell a story. I know it. Why? Because it's on Extraordination.
That's right. Plug Extraordination. Plug it.
Yeah, Extraordination. You can look in the live chat and see how it's spelled. I think that's my username right now.
Yeah.
But Anthony's on there. Some mob guys, some not mob guys. Nikki's on there. Anybody I think that has a great story, but it's also a story of a comeback. It's never just a normal story. It's somebody that somehow got down and fought their way back, and it's hopefully inspires people. And no matter how bad your shit is, theirs is probably
you can go back.
And
I need to get in there. I gotta grab something, man, because I just worked out.
So we got criminal justice. Let me see what I got for graphics. I had a little bit of time. Here we go. For people that didn't know,
man, I had open.
Where they put criminals, people with no future, things like that.
I like the snack on dry cherries during the show. It just worked out, right? So I need a little carbs. And I grabbed these, but these are actually blueberries. I didn't realize they were warm cherries, so I had to grab the cherries up and kind of snack. Because like I said, I just worked out, so I'm carb starved and depleted. So anyways, so
what was it that inspired you to want to do this tonight?
I guess I was looking at the justice system today, what's going on with Trump, what's going on with Biden and all that. Obviously there's a national spotlight on what's going on in DOJ and FBI and all this stuff. And it's on one hand, it's like, but I want to get into the justice system, like from my perspective when I was a criminal. But as far as that goes right now, the double standard that is in place with the Department of Justice right now, the way like they're pursuing Trump opposed to Biden and all that, it's so blatantly
more evident than it is.
It's so blatantly obvious though, and glaring, and you just think like the people doing it, they just have no shame. They're just like, F it. Like, this is one way we can get rid of Trump, or at least try. And so we're going to do this. And I'm like, it seems so petty and childish and banana republicus and like third world, but yet they're allowed to get away with it because of the way the system is, the way it's set up is, I don't want to get in a huge political debate about Biden and the administration or whatever, but if you control the DOJ, if you control the FBI, you basically do what the F you want, right? And that means not prosecuting someone like Hunter Biden, for example, who's a crackhead, who's potentially sold state secrets or influence, whatever, panhandled influence of his father. It's pretty obvious. And if that was Trump, the tables turned with Trump, my God, there would be a full court press. They would be going insane, berserk. The media, they would want his head on a platter, right?
Which isn't speculation. We've seen it. Yeah, if they had one of his kids jaywalking, it'd be on the news cycle 24/7. All
you see. Instead, they sweep it under the rug. So my biggest concern overall with that, it's not that they're doing it, although that is very disconcerting. It's the fact that they are doing it without giving a F. That it's blatant. They're like, we're doing this. We don't give an F about you stupid Americans. You don't like it? Shut the F up. We'll get you next. We don't give a shit what you think. And I'm just like, they shouldn't be allowed.
It's not just Biden. Like, they had Hillary dead to rights, like destroying evidence, all that kind of stuff. She's as dirty as they come. And he's like, yeah, but we're not going to prosecute. No reasonable person would, right? But the false dossier for Trump, that was more than enough to waste millions of your tax dollars when they knew from the beginning there was nothing to it. They knew exactly how it was going to end. It was just a distraction to help give their guy, which they shouldn't have, an edge.
Yeah, and they should be subject to pay that money back. You know what I'm saying? And the people who propagated it, the FBI dude, and even Hillary Clinton, all of them should be charged.
James
with some
Comey.
kind of criminal mischief or some kind of falsifying police reports or a conspiracy to defraud the U.S. president, something.
They
They should
defrauded
all be charged.
for a FISA warrant. Yeah.
Something. They should all
But
be.
nothing ever happens. And I always go back to, hopefully there's two sides. There's a good side and a bad side. But I always wonder if it's not just like they're on the same side. It's like the same guys holding both puppets. Like, you did wrong. No, I didn't. Right. And we're all watching like, yeah, I'm for the puppet on the left. But it's the same freaking guy.
Dude, me and my wife just we just had this conversation 20 minutes ago, me and my wife. I said, at this point, if me as the writer, if I'm writing this story of what's happening in the world right now, Putin, Biden, and Zelensky are all in on it, and they're just like, what I'm saying? Let's figure out a way to steal $200-300 billion. Yeah. And they're like, okay, let's work together. $300 billion over the length of a war, if it lasts 2 years or 3 years, it's a lot of money, man. $100 billion a year each. Boom, here we go, or whatever they do. And they divide it up with a bunch of other, high-level people. But even if 300 people get $1 billion each, they're like, why not? Being a millionaire is nice when you have a beautiful home and you can have nice places and cottages, fly private once in a while, whatever. But being a billionaire is really nice. Then we're talking private jets and yachts for the whole family forever, for 500 years or whatever. I think that make more sense. The people, this is how they talk about us. The American people are too stupid to figure it out. That's what they're saying. They're in a room saying American people are too stupid to figure out. And even if the few who do, of course they will, they're going to change. They're going to challenge us and claim we're doing this. We just lie and say, no, we're not. Don't worry about it. This is state secrets. Where this money goes, it's private. It's for military. It's protect us from World War and blah, 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 blah. And they just keep
it. Have a complicit media that's willing to do it. And one of the three is a professional actor.
Right. Yeah. Not even a good one. Not even a good one. Yeah, he's gotten down. Like he's got to be feeling like he hit the jackpot.
Like really, this Ukrainian Benny Hill. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a. I think that this goes down in his legacy. That he's like, wow, I hit the jackpot. I'm going to forever go down in history. My legacy is going to be amazing. Plus, when this is all over, I'm going to be a multi-billionaire. I got billions of dollars. How awesome it's going to be to ride off in the sunset with $20 billion. You know what I'm saying? Flying around the world with hookers from Saudi Arabia to South America.
Most people tonight in Indiana, or at least in this area, probably bigger than that, are trying to win the Powerball, and it's like $700 million, and that's going to change their lives and stuff. Chump change compared to what they're fleecing us every day. We're stupid.
Yeah.
But back to the justice.
Yeah, so there's no justice in the justice system. I think that the American justice system, hear me out, is probably, I'm not sure, I don't know all the justice systems in the world, but I would say that our American justice system is probably more fair than most justice systems. Or at the very least, it's designed to be. However, it's very, very flawed. The reason why it's so flawed is because, let me give you an example. This is from my own eyes and experiences in my own life. A couple examples. For example, we'll start with race. I walked into, like a black dude in Oakland County, which is a high-end, mostly white county, might walk in after an armed robbery and get 25 years, right? That's the same guy walks into in Wayne County, Detroit, in front of a black judge. He might get 2 years or probation or something. I get it. So proof that there is some racial issue, but it's the same difference when I walked into I saw a black judge when I was in Detroit for like a driving on suspended, and I watched like 10 guys go in front of me, all black dudes driving on suspended, and they got nothing or like $50 fine or just let go, whatever. I get in front of the judge. She goes, $5,000 fine. She gave me a $5,000 fine, black judge. I just watched 10 guys go for the same thing. So there's no justice in that. Just like if you have a lawyer, if you have a paid lawyer, and like let's say two guys commit essentially the same crime in the same county. One has money for a paid lawyer. Let's say he has $10,000. That's if you have $10,000 for a paid lawyer, you're getting into the range where you can actually make a difference. If you have $20,000, Now you're very much putting the scales of justice in your favor. Scales of justice. But if you have like 50,000 or 100,000 or 1,000,000, you can almost guarantee you'll get out of it. Almost guarantee. And I've seen it happen. So what I'm saying is somebody who is indigent, can't afford a lawyer, goes in front of a judge, and you could get 10, 20, 30 years. That same criminal does that in front of them. So a lot of it comes, there's no justice. Where's the justice in that? Where's the justice if two guys commit the same thing and one has a good lawyer and one doesn't, that they get completely opposite sentences or repercussions? So I think there should be a system in place.
I guess the lawyer would more come in before the sentencing, though, right? He comes in because a good lawyer is going to go, walk me through it. Okay, why'd you pull him over? Well, that's not, he wasn't even driving. Why did you check him out? Well, what made you look in his pockets?
That's one of the things.
A good lawyer is going to find the things, you know what I mean? Or, you know, at what point did you read him his rights? So, you know, or in discovery, maybe they're like not even disputing the fact that he did it, but they're like, you know, you took an extraordinarily long time in discovery. We had a right to see that within 7 days.
Yeah,
we didn't, and here we go.
You know so we did. Right. So you're right. All that plays like that was spoken like somebody who's been there. I have many times, dude, you know, and you sound just like a lawyer. Where, like you said, there's different loopholes and stuff. But one of the, if you have a court-appointed lawyer, he don't care about the loopholes. Like, he don't care about you. You're a $500 check. He's gonna go in there and tell you to plead guilty. I can't do nothing for you. But they'll try to make it like, I can't do this. You might do that. We're on a plea bargain. Blah blah blah. They're not gonna do nothing for you.
Yeah, like, the advice you're paying for is wear a tie.
Right, exactly. These guys, these hacks, and I knew a bunch of hack lawyers like that. Macomb County was famous for having these like hack lawyers. What was the guy? Barkovich was one. There was another one. These guys were like your goofy ass cheap tie suits, and they were often court appointed. They'd sign up to get court appointed, and they wouldn't do dick. But if you paid them, then they could actually work with the judge. They would go to the judge and they would work with them. And they'd get you out of it. That's how it all worked. Every lawyer that I ever knew basically said, I know the judge. I can get in with them and make this happen, right?
And it happens before you ever stand up there. He comes back. He's like, shut your mouth. This is all worked out. Here's what's going to happen. And then they do a dog and pony show, and it's exactly like he says.
Totally. When I got busted with all that dope in Roseville, before I got locked up, like about a year before I got locked up, 9 months, whatever it was, I got a big lawyer. His name is David Gorosh. He has since been disposed or disbarred. This guy, he got disbarred for bribery. Yeah. not joking, but he was a powerhouse back then. His partner was building Neil Rockheim, was another super powerhouse of a lawyer, like probably the most powerful lawyer in Michigan for sure. Anyways, in that particular case, it was a Bill raid. My girlfriend's brother freaking ratted me out. I was going to actually have my girl take the hit because it was her brother who ratted me out. She insisted he live with me. So I said, you know what? Tell him it's your dope. And I told my lawyer, I said, dude, she's going to go in there and say it's hers. They're never going to convict her of it because look at her. She's freaking an innocent girl, not a crime on her record. He's like, don't even worry, bro. No, you won't have to go through that, man. I got this. And I'll go in there. And anyway, he got it all dismissed, but he'd go in their chambers and kick it, come out laughing. All right, man, listen, this is what I can do. And he's like, you got it down to like a year probation. I was like, no, bro. He's like, why can't you do a year of probation, drug tested? I said, because I smoke weed every day. I'm like, I'm going to end up in jail for a year. I don't want to end up in jail for a year. You know, I gave you all this freaking money. Beat it. It's a weak case, super weak case. Like, I wasn't even in possession of dope. I wasn't home and they raided it. They had no fingerprints, no sale, no nothing. That's weak. So
right, and probation is money and time and beyond the fact that you're going to flunk the drug test.
Yeah, exactly. And he said to me,
money and you got to take off work. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, totally. He said to me, so you can't do a year. I said, no, I don't want to. I gave you all this freaking money. I said, you can't go. He's like, it's a 99% chance I beat this case. He said 90, but it's a 90% chance I beat this case. But you never know. Juries are phony. You know, they could just go the other way and you get 20 years, bro. I'm like, just go in there, man. Tell him what's up. He comes back out and he goes, I can get you 6 months probation. Can you do it? I said, I guess I can 6 months. So I I got drug tested one time in 6 months, and I was clean. And this is a funny ass story. Like I got in with my PO, which is funny. So I had to drop. It was random, so I wasn't. So I go in there and I make cool with my PO. It's a 6-month misdemeanor. I'm probation for a 6-month misdemeanor. Attempted possession of analog, like pills or steroids. And I get cool with the guy. We start talking hunting and fishing. He's a hunter and fisher. I see the pictures on his wall. And then I got to the point where every time I go to the frickin' to see the guy, I'd smoke a joint. I don't know why it calmed me down. So I'd smoke a joint on the way to see my PO. Then I would stop at like a McDonald's, brush my teeth, gargle, wash my hands, put some cologne on. But on the way there, I'm slamming water and I'm slamming one of those pee things, one of those, cover up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like $25 pee cover
like
up.
a detox, yeah.
Yeah, so I slam one of those
you for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I slam one of those and drink like a gallon of water on the way there. So I go in there and I'm really, really hot. And all of a sudden he says, I think we're good. And he goes, so, you clean? You doing any drugs? I said, no. He's like, yeah, can I drop you right now? I said, yeah, I guess. And I know I just smoked a joint 20 minutes. So he says, all right, take this cup. He walked me. He says, walk me down the hall. He says, go in the bathroom there. The guy's in there, right? This is funny as hell, man. This is funny. I said, all right. So I'm thinking it could be bogue. I've been on probation for like 3 months. I have 3 months left. I walk in there, and then it's just this fat dude, right? This fat, sloppy mother effer. Looks a little bit familiar, but I don't really, I say, I got to drop. So I give him the paper thing. And then he's like, you got to go into the stall right here, and I got to watch. Then he says,
that's a great job, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, right? He says, what's up, Al? How you doing? He says, it's Brian Wyman, bro. Brian Wyman. I said, oh, what's up, bro? How you doing, dude? He said, because he used to hang around this little Italian kid named Jimmy Messina, who lived in the next block from me. That was his boy. They bought weed from me. You know what I'm saying? I lived around the corner, so they're kind of these dorky dudes, but whatever. I was cool with them. I sold them weed. He said, what's up, Brian Wyman? I said, oh, what's up? So I go in the bathroom, and I'm trying to pee. And I'm just trying to figure out how I can get around this. And he goes, I was wondering when you were going to come in here. I figured you'd end up in here sooner or later. I always take care of your boy, Junior, and this guy. He said somebody else. He said Junior and somebody else. I take care. You see the verbiage? He said, I always take care of Junior and so-and-so. I take care of them guys. I said, take care of? So as I'm peeing, I reach in my pocket. I got a knot of money. I peel a $100 bill off. And I wrapped the $100 bill around the pee. I put pee in it. And I go, here you go, bro. And I hand him the thing. And he takes it with the $100 bill. And he looks at me and he looks at it. Puts the 100 in his pocket. He grabs the little dipwicks. Goes, clean, all clean. I couldn't believe it, bro. He gave me clean. It's just funny. What are the odds, though?
That, picture, at least you go, well, will you pee in this? He goes, I ain't clean.
Right. That would have been funny. I didn't think that's smarter to me. That would have been funny as hell. But anyways, that's the only time I ever had to go pee in there. But anyways, another example of the justice system. Like, here it is. I'm totally guilty and able to bribe my way around it with $100 of getting out of a dirty urine. When I was in prison, of course, when I was in prison, I heard a million stories about the injustices of the system.
Right.
I've heard some horrendous, draconian, heinous injustices of people who did nothing or barely nothing and got massive amount of time. And there's the other way too.
Yeah, and I got a couple examples of those guys, but we'll get to that.
Some pervert rapes a 9-year-old girl, he gets 3 years. How's that happen?
Right, it's not exaggeration. There's rapists that get 5 years. You know what I mean?
Less.
Or whatever.
Less. Yeah, all the time. So, I'll give you another quick example. One of my bunkies in prison when I was level 4 was a black dude named Neat. I didn't really like him. He was loud. He thought he was tough. He was always talking loud. I thought he was a tough guy. I imagine he was a pretty tough kid. I had no doubt I could beat his ass, but it wouldn't be easy. I did see him fight once, and he beat the other guy's ass, so I'll give him that. But he was kind of a little bit scared of me. This is a funny story. When I first moved in the cell, real quickly, I first moved in this guy's cell. The first day, this is level 4, he's locked down 23 hours a day, 22 hours a day. I walk in there, I'm unpacking my stuff right now. The dude kind of knows me from the yard from working out. It's a very hard level 4 yard, very dangerous, very hard, a lot of stabbings, gang wars, whatever. It's not a good yard. It's the worst prison I was in. Nah, not as bad as Kinross, pretty close. And I walk in there, unpack, and I'm kind of kicking it with the dude. He's asking me about working out a little bit because he knows I'm kind of big. And then the porter comes to the door because obviously this dude Neek hadn't had a bunkie for a couple of days. And the porter comes to the door. This is a door that slides like this, and it's a solid metal door. It was made to be a level 5, turned it into a level 4, so there's no bars. And he said, that dude comes out to the door and he says to his boy, which is my bunkie, Neek, today I'm unpacking my stuff. He says, "What's up, man?" It's his cousin. He says, "What's up, cuz?" He's like, "Oh, see, you got a bunkie. Got you a white boy. Give him a store list," which is him saying, he says, "Oh, you got a white boy." He's like, "Give him a store list, man. Give him 20, put 25 on the books." So that's basically him telling the dude to say, extort him. Say he's got to pay to be on the yard or lock in here. I have to pay. So I walk straight over. The dude is in the doorway talking to his cousin through the little glass window. So I walk over to the dude. I pushed the dude aside. I said, "Nobody's giving me no snore list, dude. Not you, not him, not nobody. Trust me on that." And the dude in my cell, Neek, starts laughing. He's like, "Nah, man, he's just joking. He's just joking." I said, "Yeah, well, let's make it clear. I'm not giving nobody shit. Get that through your head." And he's like, "Yeah." So, but he thought he was a tough guy. So one day, he tells me what he's in there for, and his cousin was murdered by a gang in Flint, right? And a couple days later, he's driving around and he sees some dudes that he thinks are connected to his cousin's murder. So he loads up this .38 revolver, jumps out of the car, premeditated, determined to kill this guy, right?
And by himself.
Well, he's got a driver, but basically, yeah, he sees the dude. He jumps out of the car, runs right up on him. The guy, he starts shooting him. The guy turns around the run. He chases after him. Bang, 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 bang. Shoots him 5 times, right? Guy doesn't die, though. Guy lives. So this is a premeditated, cold-blooded, first-degree attempted murder, right?
Yeah.
What do you think he got for that? In Flint, Michigan, keep in mind, in Flint, Michigan, where they don't have a lot of money, the courts don't have a lot of money, it's a broke, dump, ghetto-ass, just horrible city.
I would guess it's literally 18 years.
No, he got 9.5 plus 2 for a gun, so we got 11.5 altogether. But I got more than him, bro. For threatening somebody over the phone.
Right.
All I did was threaten somebody over the phone. And say, you got to pay me or else, essentially. And it wasn't even that, nothing heinous. Like I'm going to cut your kids apart or nothing like that. I'm just like, listen, you got to pay. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Life. And anyways, I got 13 to 50. So how?
It was attached to a bank robbery too, right?
Mine?
Yeah.
No, that was an extortion charge, completely separate from the bank robbery. Completely separate.
Wow.
No, bank robbery only got me 7.5 years.
Everything, right? That's how you ended up in the.
No, the bank robbery got me 7.5 years. A couple of armed robberies concurrent, 7.5 years. Then I got 2 for a gun. So that's 9.5 years. That's what I was supposed to get.
Concurrent. And then this happened.
And then I went to, well, it's a perfect example of the judge. That's what I want to tell you. Okay, so I had a little bit of money for paid lawyer on the Macomb County, where Macomb County had, 16, I just tweaked my neck, I think. We were just talking about that. I had 16 charges that, I don't remember how many were capital, maybe 14, whatever. It just means they carry 0 to life. They're 0 to life floaters, they call them. So, court-appointed lawyer. I got a lawyer. My girlfriend gets a lawyer for me and gives whatever money I can afford, sell some watches I had, whatever. And I probably was only $7,000, $8,000, not a lot. And so this guy's representing me, and I go to court on all this stuff. I have $5 million in bonds in Macomb County, and I get bonded. I get rowed out or rowed over or bound over to Oakland County about 6 weeks after I'm under arrest, and they say, "We got this extortion charge. We're charging you with." And they tell me what it is. I'm like, that ain't shit. That's just me threatening somebody over the phone. That ain't nothing. I'm not even worried about it. So they give me a court-appointed attorney. And I say, listen, can you get this to go concurrent with whatever Macomb County gives? And she says, yeah, I can do that. So she goes to the judge, and they say, yes, as long as what Macomb County is going to give him falls into the bottom half of the guidelines, we'll go concurrent. we'll even sign
it. If you're following along at home, that means this time's going to be served at the same time.
At the same time, right? Exactly. It means it's going to be served at the same time, not consecutive. So I say, so the judge signed this plea agreement or Cobb's agreement. So I do it. Bottom half the guidelines are they say are 72 to 142 months. And as long as it falls in the middle of that somewhere, we're good. So I go to get sentenced to Macomb County, and they give me 114 months, right? It's 9.5 years, whatever it is. Well, here's where the injustice takes place. I pled to those like 5 charges: guns, armed robbery, bank robbery, in Macomb County. The second that I did that, they sent the pre-sentencing investigation report over to the Oakland County and said, here's his new convictions. Refigure his guidelines. So the guidelines that had once been 72 to 114 months, now, because I just got convicted of armed robbery, bank robbery, armed robbery, and guns, my guidelines jumped up to 156 to 320 months. So they literally, so when I went up to court, my lawyer, this dumb, I don't like using the word, man, but dude, her name was Robin Frankel, this Jewish chick. And she basically railroaded me. She said, there's nothing I can do, which there was. She should have said, withdraw your plea. We'll go to trial. She could have said a million things. Instead, she said, I can't do nothing because she's a court-appointed lawyer. She don't want to spend a freaking extra minute on this case. So what am I going to say? I don't care. It's like, nah. She says, take it up in the Court of Appeals, which I did, and they shot it down the whole way. This dumb-ass bitch, man. What a disgusting human being. That cost me 3.5 years of my life. They just stole 3.5 years of my life just like that.
Like it's nothing. That's what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, before we get off subject, but they do it to the black community at a disproportionate rate. I mean, they do it all the time. I got a video queued up. Can you check this out real quick?
Yeah.
You should be able to see it.
Bias on the bench. An in-depth analysis shows blacks are being given longer prison sentences than whites in Florida, even if they commit the same crime.
In any way, do you think this is racial?
Absolutely. It is racist. It is. It is.
The Florida sentencing system is broken and biased. That's the finding of a study looking at a decade of convictions and sentences.
NBC2 investigator David Hodges has been poring over the results for Southwest Florida, where the problem was also found.
Like most areas across the state, the records compiled by the Sarasota Herald-Tribune show black defendants here tend to get longer prison sentences than whites. Tonight, there are many calling for reform.
Be seated. Sit down.
A Collier County court audience is told to take a seat, but Kyrique Seymour has supporters standing with him.
I am heartbroken.
Alana Roden is Seymour's grandmother.
We're here for him unconditionally, and we're going down with him.
With her is Collier County NAACP President Vincent Keys. He's not there protesting Seymour's innocence, but ensuring he is treated fairly in the courtroom.
Do you think there's an issue with racial bias in the judicial system?
Well, I honestly believe that there's a big bias.
All of us have perhaps a level of implicit bias, and certainly the judges are not immune to that.
No, we don't.
Emily LaCause is an investigator.
Not all of us. Not all of us. Not all of us have are implicit. You might be implicit, lady, but
right. Well, she said that. I think her point was they're not immune to it.
She said we're all implicit on this. No, we're not, mother ever. It's you. But the other thing is, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I got you. Well, she's saying like, yeah, we all have a bias.
Yeah, we're all guilty of this. Like, no, we're not. It's you. You know what I'm saying? Right. And for example, but here's another. You want bias? What goes the other way racially? Obviously, in like Michigan prison system, the racial balance is like 70% black, right? Although they only make up 13% of the population, so it makes it look biased. Although they're the ones committing the most crimes, so it is what it is. But here's what they do with the MDOC, which was proven. They sued somebody won a class action lawsuit. Is that in order to try and create more of a racial harmony, a balance to where it's more even, white and black, they were flopping the white prisoners. Basically, they're keeping white prisoners for about 120% of their sentence, while the blacks would only serve 100% because it's called truth in sentencing. Like me, I had 13 to 50 years. So they could flop me for up to 50 years. So what I do is I go see a judge, and they I was lucky because it was in this college program, so they had to let me out on my first bang. Had I not been in that college program, I very likely I went and saw the parole officer, the parole board, and he said, "No, I'll see you in 2 years. Go back to your cell," and that's it. And I'm like, "What? See you and then I could come back in 2 years, and he'd be like, "See you 2 more." And dude, I seen that happen through thousands of guys, and I'm like, "What the frick?" And then some legal beagle in the prison got the statistics and was able to file a class action lawsuit, and they said they put a stop to it. But it goes both ways. I'm 100% saying that there is bias.
It does, but I think it leans toward the blacks. Like I got a graph here.
I'm sure it does.
And it shows the population on the left if you're looking at it. From whites, blacks, and Hispanics. Obviously, they're minorities. There's less of them. Look at the serving life without parole sentences.
But that don't mean nothing, Bill. Bill, the reason for that is because they're killing more people. So it's not just because they're serving life. They kill a lot.
When they do the studies, they're not just saying like because they committed the crimes. They're saying per the people that committed the same crimes, how does the life without parole break down? And what's really is look how well they're treating the Hispanics. Where's their shirt? But we got to be a little unfair with them in the future.
Right? Let's get racist on the brownies. Listen, I don't know. I'm not sure I believe that. I'm sure there's probably some level of racial bias there for sure because they're just
there's racial bias just in the laws and the way they do it, right? If you get caught with coke, it's not as bad as getting caught with crack, right? And they started that back when the CIA was selling crack to the minorities.
Yeah, again, that's no racist thing. That's just because it's 5 times more addictive. So when you're selling crack, it's 5 times more addicting than cocaine, and therefore it's dangerous to the public. So if you get caught with it, if I got caught with it or anybody else got caught, they didn't care about if you were black or white. It's crack.
I don't know about that. I'm not so sure, especially when the CIA perpetrated the sale and getting them hooked on it.
Well, the CIA had nothing to do with who bought it. They didn't give a shit as long as the money was green. They didn't. Yes, the CIA most definitely, flooded the markets with crack cocaine. Crack was a way to expedite the sale. Cocaine.
I don't think it took a Swami to figure out who was going to get addicted to crack. Right? Yeah, it's cheap, but it's highly addictive. It's easy to come by, and they sell it in the street.
I don't think anyone was smart enough
getting hooked on crack.
To be perfectly honest, if you do your homework on that drug, do some homework and look it up. Although it did take place to start in the hood because it was a more affordable way of doing cocaine.
Yeah, it was very active when the crack epidemic was happening.
But the crack hit white people just as bad. It's just, like I said, it was just.
I don't think so. Not even close.
The guys because it was cheaper and there was less money in the hood. So people who had had more money.
A certain class of people. Not that white people never did it, but I saw what happened in Tampa, and I can't believe that it kind of burned itself out. I didn't think it would. Back when
those guys didn't care about the race.
I thought it was true.
They cared about the money, bro. I've been in Crack Central in Detroit and at Mount Clemens and stuff. When the CIA came up with these things, they weren't saying, well, if we give it to the black people, maybe. I mean, some of them might have thought that, but they are all just like, listen, what would be the best way to get people more addicted to cocaine? Crack. Somebody started freebasing it, so they made it and said, boom. Oh, this works? Then we flood the markets. Because all the white people, when they wanted crack, they didn't buy it in the suburbs. They went down to the city. So drug dealers in the city were selling crack because it was a more affordable form of cocaine. And so you had a lot more poor people, a.k.a. black people, able to afford some crack. In the end, it was just another thing where let's make some money. I don't care who's at risk or what damage it does to the community. This F them all. That's how I feel like they were looking at it. But yeah,
Indy, right? We got the east side, which is like the Wild West, and we've got Carmel with the roundabouts and the $1 million malls and all that stuff. If one single incident on the east side happened in Carmel, shit would hit the fan. It's not the same. In Indy, by the way, last week we had 3 police officers killed last week in Indiana.
That's wild, man. That's
Isn't that
wild.
crazy?
That's wild. It's sad. Carl Lake says,
I'll tell you, this happened in Carmel or Fishers. There'd be no living with this governor.
Carl Lake says there's a direct correlation between prison for profits and sentences, big bucks from Yacaba, Mexico. Yeah, that's Dennis. Well, that's exactly true. I could go through this I mean, I know from my personal experience in prison that what happened in Michigan, which is absolutely astonishing. I want to put this out there. Michigan spends 2/3 of its annual budget on arresting, prosecuting, and imprisoning its own citizens. Think about that. 2/3 of the budget it spends annually on its citizens and the welfare and the infrastructure and everything is spent on chasing down, arresting, prosecuting, and imprisoning their own citizens. Not a joke. Look it up. And that doesn't even take into account all of the prosecutors and the judges and their salaries too. I'm talking just DOC and cops, whatever. So years ago, they figured they could make a bunch of money off prisons because contractors, let's say I come in and you're a friend of mine, Bill, and you work in Lansing. You're in the governor's office, right? And I say, hey, listen, I'd like to build a $600 million prison in St. Louis, Michigan. And I'll give you, a nice fat kickback. I'll give you a freaking, a 1% kickback or whatever on my profit. So you'll end up with $10 million or something. So yeah, you put it through the budget and you put it through the government. And they say, okay, yeah, we're going to allocate freaking $400 million over the next 5 years to build this prison. So you do it.
You'd sell to the conservative side because you're like, look, government sucks, right? Government screws everything up. Let's let the private sector handle this. They'll run a prison more efficiently.
No, this is not private sector.
Less money.
This ain't even private. This is state.
Oh, it's not private?
It's not even private. No, this is just the government. It's even worse of a scam because the government itself is the one scamming.
Private's a scam too, but yeah.
Private's too. Yeah, it's even worse with private. But I've been in joints that were private, by the way, that were better than state joints. And I've been in, I've only been in one private joint and it was better. And the food was better. It was cleaner. It was run better. But,
but on the flip side, they need customers.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was getting at. So what happened is this is in the early 90s. So early 1990s, when I was at the height of my freaking criminal enterprising, they went from having, I think, 9 prisons in Michigan to 48. By 2003, there was 48 prisons. From 9 to 43. Think about how much that is. And they're all over the state, dozens of them, right? And so the problem they were having was we couldn't keep them full because there's huge money in the prison system, like Dennis was saying, between the food service and the electrical companies, even the cable companies who provide the TV for the commissary, on and on and on. Plus all the jobs. There's thousands of jobs at a prison, all the way from the warden to the COs. They know that when you open a prison in a small community, it's a massive economic stimulus. Massive. There are 500 employees making an average of $60,000 a year or $75,000 a year that are influxing money into their new economy, whether it's groceries and gas, food, cars, dealers, whatever. They're just probably more than 500, 600, 700, 800 jobs, right? Because it's around the clock, 24/7 COs. And so it's a massive stimulus. The money comes right out of the government coffers. They don't care. They don't care what it costs. We just take it right out of the budget, boom, and pay. Plus all the private contractors that are involved that are doing the food and service, whatever. So what happened was they couldn't keep these prisons full, man. By 1999, I believe it was, they're having a problem keeping these prisons full. They were only sitting at 70% full, which is bad because they are having a hard time justifying having 48 prisons. The problem is they wanted the 48 prisons because everybody was siphoning so much of that money, which is a couple $2 billion a year. And so they were, plus economic stimuluses for the whole neighborhood, for the whole cities and little towns. They put them in the middle of nowhere, right? So what they did is got in a room, some dirty, rotten scoundrels, some government, some politicians, legislators, and said, what can we do to keep these prisons full? How can we make them commit more crime? And they said, well, we could take away good time and then redo all the sentencing guidelines to more, say, draconian guidelines. So now the guy who typically right now does an armed robbery in a liquor store gets 2 years. We'll make it so he now gets 20 years. Work for you? Everybody goes, perfect. Make it happen.
Well, it's easy to market too because you could just find that one guy that got out early and committed another crime, and I'll be like, "You got 15 years, was out in 5, and here you go. He's back robbing banks. It only takes one, right?" and everybody's going to go, yeah. So truth in sentencing is what we need. You get 15,
Right.
you do 15.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
easy to sell.
Easy to sell. So they sold it. So what they did, and this is like 2 years before I went to prison, they took away good time and bumped up all the sentencing guidelines. And they kept those prisons stockpiled, stacked for years, my whole bit. And then they still were up until maybe about 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. No, probably about 6, 7 years, about the time I got out. And the reason for that is, this is how dirty, rotten scoundrel these mother effers are, Bill. The state of Michigan puts their annual budget on their town hall website board every year for 1 day and for 4 hours. So only
I love it. That's like Dukes of Hazzard shit.
Right. It's Michigan, bro. It's a pie chart that says where the money is being spent. So they just put this pie chart on their computer screen. They don't advertise it to nobody. They don't say when it's going to be there. They don't give an email notice. Nothing. They're just like, bang, it's up. And then, I think they have, it's like if you
They
subscribe
wanted to put it on the moon, but they couldn't figure out how to get it.
Right. So they put it up once a year for 4 hours. And then you can, so what happened was people started with the internet, power social media and the internet and stuff. People are like, one day they're like, what the frick is that? That can't be right. Michigan's got a $4 billion GDP and 2.7 they spend it on corrections. 2.7 billion? How much they spend on schools? 800 million? They spend more on 2.5 times more on prisons and schools. Then the other is like cops or emergency response or infrastructure and yada yada yada. It's just, but dude, I did the math, bro. Like the Macomb County where I was sentenced with the most time, there's 198 prosecutors there. There's like 17 judges, 198 prosecutors. So you do the math. That's probably pretty good sized county. There's probably 10 of them that big in Michigan. But you add it all up, all those prosecutors in Michigan. And they got to be between the judges and the prosecutors and the court appointed defenders or whatever. That's got to be at least $400 or $500 million more into the incarceration system. That doesn't count police because police is separate. The police is a separate in the infrastructure and whatever. So if you're looking at all these billions going just to prisons and corrections, what the frick? They are literally focusing like 2/3 of the budget on trying to arrest, prosecute, and imprison their own people, which to me is insane. And that's where I'm like, where is the justice in our justice system? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is any of that justified? I know, it's depressing.
I'm reading some of these comments.
Yeah, let me do it.
Like Jay Sam, he's like, mass incarceration doesn't exist. That's a bunch of left-wing Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton nonsense, who, of course, two guys we are not fans of. But, I could play both sides of the fence on this. I would say drug offenses, what is the purpose of jail, okay? Jail is where they put you because you are a danger to A, yourself, or B, society, okay? The guy that got busted with a bunch of weed, I would argue, is not a danger to society.
That guy's not in prison, bro. The guy got busted with a bunch of weed ain't in prison. There's no one else.
This guy's in prison right now that got busted for weed.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, there is.
They let all them guys go out years ago for weed.
Well, it's not illegal anymore, right? But what about Seth Ferrante with acid?
Yeah, he got screwed. Yeah, he got screwed for the acid. They screwed him.
Yeah, and he's not the only one. Decades and decades and decades. Half the time, if you look at the cases, these guys were badgered to sell the cop.
Yeah, it's entrapment.
Call them again. Please, bro, hook me up. Bam,
they did that to me.
Years.
They did that to me. But weed today, that nobody's going to jail for weed.
Okay, but acid's just as bad. There's no lethal dose of acid that I'm aware of. Why are you in there like you're some kind of mass murderer?
He got screwed. I would say that's an exception.
He's not the only one. He's just the most famous.
No, yeah. But things like that are rare. But there are, mass incarceration.
I think there's a lot of nonviolent offenders that are doing a long time.
There used to be, but not anymore, man. They're not sentencing those people.
Everybody in jail is a killer.
Most of the guys in prison today are violent criminals. They're people who beat and robbed, raped. Yes, yeah, most of the guys. The drug offenders, unless they're selling big drugs, and significant drugs. If you sold $20,000 worth of heroin, you might go to prison for a couple of years. But for the most part, yeah, drugs.
As we move on, I'll try to check that stat. But
the last prison I was in, was Macomb Prison, and I would say 70% of it was violent criminals, and 30% of it were kind of short timers doing it. But today, the justice system actually goes really lenient on drug charges and like non-violent crime. But they are mass incarcerating guys still. I mean, again, if you get arrested for, let's say I beat some dude's ass right at the freaking gas station. Some guy gets tough with me or talks slick to my wife. I break his jaw, right, which is easy, right? The prosecutor can look at my record and go, "Listen, guy's got a violent history, man. I want to give him 5 to 20 for this." And I got 20 felonies on my record. The judge might say, "Yeah, boom, you're out of here." Or if I take it to trial and lose, I get a freaking felonious assault, 5 to 50 or 5 to 20, whatever. There are guys who are getting that too. You know, if you have a bad record and you have a violent crime, I think a lot of the guys going to prison these days are armed robbers. You know, who are like commit strong arm or armed robberies and bank robberies, things like that. I don't think the guy who walks into the freaking the Rite Aid and grabs a garbage bag and fills it with freaking Sudafed and walks out. He's not going to prison. He might go to rehab. He might go to. He does it 50 times in places like this.
In 2020, total drug crimes says 131,600 people were incarcerated for drug crimes.
How much drugs? Do they sell it?
I don't know.
That's the thing.
100.
I'm just saying, but that could mean people selling kilos and meth and on and on and on. It's not like they're getting possession and going to prison. But I do believe if you get caught selling a significant amount of drugs, you should go to prison. They are illegal. They do ruin lives. They devastate lives and they kill people. So if you sell an ounce of meth to some freaking dude and it's a cop, go to prison, man. I mean, it's the only way to stop it. Otherwise, we don't have law. There's no law in the land. You can't just sell meth to freaking people and ruin their lives. That's illegal.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I agree with you. You shouldn't, but you can't. I don't know. When I was a kid, I used to believe, honestly, wholeheartedly, that a man has a right to destroy himself in any way he sees fit.
That was
if he's not robbing and stealing and hurting you, then if that's his goal, that's his goal.
That's shit. That's a kid thinking. How many people have you lost due to drugs? How many lives have you seen destroyed because of drugs? I mean, destroyed.
Plenty.
Exactly. So the way to stop that,
like poured down their throat. You know what I mean? It wasn't. They weren't strapped to a chair like Clockwork Orange.
Listen, it's. I mean, if you're
people drank themselves to death, is alcohol illegal?
Bill, if you're yelling and fighting and arguing with somebody, you're all riled up and you're super violent, feeling or whatever, and I walk over and hand you a cock pistol and say, "Here you go, Bill," and you shoot the guy, I'm not to blame a little bit.
Is that the same?
I mean, yeah, it's exactly the same. Think about it.
I don't think it's exactly the same.
It's close. I'm just saying.
Once you told me to kill somebody.
I'm just saying, but that's what you're doing, but slowly and painfully killing somebody. And it's a horrible death. I've been there. I've been in the throes of death from drugs. I've been that guy just clawing to stay alive from drugs. There were 3 times in my life.
I'll clarify right now that the fentanyl thing's a completely different animal because.
Yeah, well, I mean, heroin was pretty bad.
It's fraud on the drug level.
Yeah, but I'm just saying heroin was pretty bad, bro. And so there were 3 times in my life where another example of I know God is real situation. 3 times in my life, I injected heroin and knew I was about to die. I was overdosing. Right. I actually knew I was overdosing. And I screamed out.
You hold your dealers personally accountable for that?
No, but I'm saying I hold his dealer accountable. Yeah. Yeah, the guy who sold him the freaking brick. Yeah. Because if nobody busts them, it's just a free-for-all. We don't have law. We just got drugs. Everybody's dying. So, yeah.
I know. I'm playing devil's advocate. Well, I can tell you in Indy, we got the opposite problem right now. All you hear about is the cops arrest people. They go to jail, turn around. They're back on the street the next day. Cops are getting tired of it.
Well, yeah.
Crime's out of control.
Let me finish telling you what I did with that when I overdosed, though, because it's important that you hear it, that everybody hear it. When I injected this dope, I remember all 3 specific times. Once I was getting my kicker put in my Jeep, the sound system. I was in the bathroom. Another time I was in the bathroom of a McDonald's in the ghetto. Another time I was in my house where I live with my girlfriend. All 3 times, I knew I was dying. And it wasn't even like, I don't know how I knew. Typically when you heroin overdose, you just go to sleep. God did it different with me for whatever reason. I felt my heart started pounding, and my head boom, 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 which is the opposite of what heroin does to you, right? But I knew I was on my way out, and I only had a few more seconds. And I called out to God, and I said, God, please don't let me die. Don't let me overdose. I pray in Jesus' name, don't let me die. I love you. I got a mission. I don't want to die yet. And just like that, in an instant, I was good. All 3 times. So I'm just saying, God is real, but I'd be dead. My best friend died of heroin. I know a ton of people who died of heroin.
Yeah, I got a ton of friends that are dead from drugs.
That's why I don't think if it was me, if I was
never
running,
once went like, who sold it to him? I was like, man, freaking, yeah, this was going this way.
Yeah, but you have to think like that, Bill. You have to, because it's coming from somewhere. You can't just magically overlook the fact that these drugs are being sold. Not only that, when you're a drug dealer of hard drugs, you're propagating evil. Basically, what you do, you don't care about people dying, maybe, or ruining their lives. You don't care about their dreams falling through the cracks.
Well, they got their own problems, and they're not even thinking like that.
Yeah, they don't care. They just want the money.
But I would concede if my daughter died of drugs, then, or my son, then yeah.
Right. Exactly. You blame the guy. You blame the
freaking guy. They will pay for that. Yeah.
So you know my stance on this. If it was me, I ran the country. If it was my world, I would execute drug dealers, and then there wouldn't be any, because they'd be dead, or they'd be scared if they're going to sell drugs because they knew they'd be dead. So find them, catch them, and that's what they do in Thailand. There's almost no drugs in Thailand, none, because what they do is they take and kill them. They execute them publicly. And then you won't have drugs. You won't have meth heads and fentanyl overdoses in California. You won't have, San Francisco. So back to the justice system. How is it justice in a state like California, there where you I don't know if you see the videos, but I see them every once in a while. Somebody sends them to me, where it's some dude walks in with a little bit of a mask on, with a garbage bag and a Rite Aid or whatever it is in California, and he's casual as hell. He takes a crowbar, breaks open the Sudafed cabinet with all the high-end drugs or whatever, and he just starts stuffing them in a bag. And people are video. There are people standing there with a camera just watching. He's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Then he slings it over his back like Santa Claus, and he walks out. That guy's not going to be charged with a crime?
No, right now, yeah. You can shoplift less than $500.
$900. It's $950.
It's $950 now.
$950.
It's ridiculous, but it's not working out. Everybody knows it. It's something that everybody knew would happen. I don't know what's going on with that.
And you know what's happening? All those dudes do.
You can't steal a pack of gum. It's wrong. It's not hard to see where it goes.
Listen, we were just talking before the show about my boy stole 25 cases of wine, and I sold it, made some money to these Arabs. What do you think them crackheads and dope fiends and meth heads and mostly fentanyl addicts are doing in California when they go in there and steal all the crap? They walk down the freaking Pedro, or they walk down to some Chaldean, like in Detroit you would, one of the Arabs. Right. Say, here's my bag of stuff. And they like a $9 thing of Sudafed. That probably goes to the meth dealers. But whatever it is, Tylenol, they give them like 20 cents on the dollar. So if you give me $1,000 worth of stuff, I give you freaking $200. Now the drug addict's like, cool, that's enough dope to keep me high for a day or two. Now that the Chaldean puts it back on the shelf and sells it at probably 25% under market value, so it sells faster, and then keeps going. So now the retailer loses, the wholesaler loses. Only people gaining is the drug addict and the Chaldean guy. There's no justice. You have to have some. You have to have justice. You have to have law and order.
You have to have law and order.
You have to have law and order. You have to have a law to rule the land. You have to enforce the law. You have to enforce the law. Listen, I'm a dude who spent 13 years in prison. So I'm telling you, go hard on crime. I'm telling you, I'm perfectly fine with going hard on crime. It has to be to a limit, right?
Yeah, but I think the argument we're trying to make here is it can't be so subjective, though.
Right, exactly.
A little bit of leniency, but like there's insanity, right? He doesn't know what he's doing. He was under stress, whatever. There's some considerations, but it can't be like one guy got 5 years, one guy got 21 years.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Same thing.
That's how it is.
And it's complicated because you got to get in the microcosm of it and stuff, right? We were trying to get Bucci on, and I'll try to tell his story as best I can. Let me get his thing up here. He's the author of Infinity Crew. If you haven't read it, I have. It's incredible. Check it out. He's a great author. But basically what happened to Bucci is he was kind of mopped up. He's from Boston, and he had his, he wasn't a straight guy. He had his time. But he had kind of moved out of that in his life, and he had many legitimate things going on. He was making good money. He was literally moving out of that life. There was a dirty cop named Jordan. There was a couple other guys that wanted to rob a coke dealer, right? Because they were pot dealers and they were a little pissed off about how the coke dealer was making money. And they come up with this plan. They approach Bucci, who had some knowledge in the subject. He wants no part of it. This is how it's told to me. He wants no part of it. Blah, blah, blah. They ask him. It's a favor. Come on, hook me up. So he goes, all right, let's do this. Act like you're going to buy a few kilos of coke. We'll do the deal. The cop who's in on it, the dirty cop, is going to bust him. Like, hey, what's going on here? And you run, and we all got busted. He'll never even suspect he got busted or that he got robbed, right? But it's a setup. So Bucci, everybody gets busted. The kid that set it up, rats. Everybody rats. The cop, they want him. And Bucci's the guy that knows the cop, and he won't give him up. Okay? So everybody that's including the guy that started the whole thing, they all get a few years. Bucci gets 21 years because he won't cooperate.
Because they want the cop.
Right. Now, when you read the police report, which I have, it reads totally different. They're like, oh, Bucci did everything. And Bucci, they gave him armed robbery. Bucci's like, man, there was no gun. There's no gun in evidence. Nobody saw a gun. I got armed robbery, Plus, Bucci didn't rob the guy. Bucci was in a car like a lookout. He wasn't even part of the deal, right? He wasn't part of any of it. He was over here.
That's how it works, man.
Exponentially than anyone.
That's how dirty the system is, dude. Cops are dirty, bro. I mean, there's so much. I could go in all freaking night. I'm going to answer a couple of these questions. But, I mean, I've had cops pull me over, pull me out of the car to search me, which is illegal, which they know is illegal. So they planted drugs in the car and said, hey, look what we found, huh? And then they I know my car is clean. I'm driving clean. I just dropped off a bunch of heroin, like an ounce of heroin in the hood. As I'm walking to my car, and this is in the ghetto, so I'm out of place. I'm out of place to begin with. As I'm walking to my car, a cop drives by. There we go. So I go to get in my car, it turns around, pulls me over, right? Well, I know I don't have any dope on me because I just dropped it off in the house, but I do have like $4,000 in my pocket. And so I thought fast on my feet, and the cop's like, what are you doing here? I said, there's a motorcycle for sale on the corner, and that was the house next to the house I was in. It was like a crotch rocket motorcycle with a for sale sign on it. I said, I pulled over, I want to take a look at that bike. I'm thinking about buying it. That covers the money in my pocket. Well, I got all the money in my pocket.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so he said, what happened? I said, I took a ride on it, and I think about it. And I didn't want him to go over there and ask.
Yeah,
so
you ride the bike. You're like, right. It's thin. It's thin.
Yeah, I'm fast. They didn't see me. The cop starts poking around. I said, step out of the car. They put me in the back seat of the car, right? Uncuffed, put me in the back seat of the car. They're in there tearing it up. I said, what are you guys doing in my car? That's an illegal search and procedure. I said, this is what I said. I said, you guys must be rookies. And they just ignored me and kept going. It's a black dude and a white dude. I'm like, you guys got to be rookies. You can't do what you're doing. You can't just detain me and then go searching my car for nothing. And all of a sudden, one of them goes, what do we got here? It's a freaking gram bag of weed. Yeah. A gram bag. A little bag of weed. I start laughing. I bust out laughing. I said, yeah, you mother effing full of shit mother effers, bro. Are you kidding me? You put that in there, mother effer. That ain't mine. I know my car's clean, mother effer. Didn't matter. This is what they did. They jumped in my car and one of them drove me back to the police station, the 9th precinct, and the other one jumped in my car, and I'm like, where's he going in my car? Starts driving around the neighborhood because my boy said, yeah, I seen your car whipping around the neighborhood a couple of times. It wasn't even my car. That's the crazy thing. It wasn't my car. It was my friend Dennis's car. It was a Camaro. And I had said to him, car's clean. Yes, perfectly clean. You sure? He says, yes, I just vacuumed it out, front to back, nothing in. I said, cool, I'm going to make this dope run. So I'm going to run down the hood. So my car was too flashy. It was a Jeep. So I know the car's clean. So the guy takes the car back to the police station, but I don't know what the hell they do with the car because the other cop takes me to the police station. I'm in the back, right? And I'm yelling to the cop, like, how much is my bond? I keep yelling. This is a nasty-ass Detroit 9th precinct. There's like a crackhead bum puking on the floor, a bunch of old bologna sandwiches on the floor, cockroaches. And I'm just like, yo, Sergeant, somebody come back here. How much is my effing bond? This cop planted dope in my car, did an illegal search and seizure. I said, let me to freaking go. So eventually, like a sergeant came back and he says, yeah, man, you're free to go. And I'm like, with nothing? He's like, I'm nothing. Where's my car? And it's like parked in the parking lot. And they opened the door, just let me go. I walked out in the parking lot and jumped in the car and left. Didn't charge me with nothing. But just cops are dirty, bro. There's a lot of dirty cops. Not all of them, but I'm just saying there's a lot of freaking, and just like Bucci, I've known guys who got, because in prison, I've known so many guys in prison. Right. They got dicked over by, whatever. Let me see. Here's a Carey, Karey says, most medical marijuana dispensaries I shop at take donations to save prisoners in jail for weed. They talk about often. Oh, I'm sure there's a few in there, but most of them have been let go, the weed guys. I mean, it's really hard. In order to go to prison for weed, dude, you gotta be a major dealer. Major. I know guys who got busted with thousands of pounds of weed and never did no time. Chuck Thomas, 2,000 pounds. I just talked to my friend today, Chris Trinity, who was he was bringing in like 6 tons a month. You know what I'm saying? Just crazy amounts. He ended up getting busted for conspiracy and RICO, but he did 4.5 years. And
guys that had like 7 pounds, but they just nail him to the cross. Although there's always some reason, right? Like say you mail it. Now that's worse.
What are you talking about? In the past or now?
In the past.
Yeah, it's different, bro. Marijuana is nothing today. But back when we were young,
in those places now, yeah. But if you mail it, right now you've got the post office involved.
It's still they ain't putting nobody in prison.
It becomes a new thing. If they want you, they'll get you, man.
Oh yeah, if they want you, they'll get you for sure. But it's not.
I like this comment here. I like Balls Deep. I mean, I like the guy in here named.
Yeah, I like Balls Deep. Oh, I like the guy. Yeah. No, weed, man, about 20 years ago stopped being a thing and fired them criminally. Now, if you get busted selling freaking 1,000 pounds of it and you don't have a lawyer or something, you might end up getting some time or something. But weed is not, it's just not the same. Balls Deep asked me to explain the difference between jail and prison. Jail is a lot different. Well, yeah, jail sucks. County jail is way worse than prison. It's there's not much movement. There's not much to do. Also, a lot of the guys don't know how to do time. They're a lower class of criminal. Usually a lot of crackheads and thieves and like petty criminals in there. They also have never done a lot of time, so they don't know how to be respectful. They don't know how to act right. They're dirty. Their hygiene is bad. They'll say slick, disrespectful stuff because in prison you don't say slick and disrespectful stuff to a guy like me. I might just break your jaw and that's the end of your freaking face. And a lot of guys in the county jail, they come off the street, they're a little cocky, they think everybody's a pussy.
They might be jonesing a little bit.
Huh?
They might be jonesing a little bit, withdrawn.
Some are jonesing. When I got to prison or jail, when I got arrested originally, jonesing, man. For 14 days I didn't sleep, bro. I know that sounds incredible and nobody believes it, but it's true. 14 days, not a wink. On the 20th day, on the 14th night, I slept like 20 minutes, and then I got in a fight the next day and went to the hole. Punched this dude in the eye, smashed his eye, and went to the hole the next day and stayed in the hole.
World not to sleep.
Oh God, it's the worst. Are you kidding me? Not only that, but when
it's like you doubled your time.
Yeah, and when you're withdrawing from heroin, you have like restless leg syndrome, so you're like, and you can't get comfortable. Like the sheet itself is abrasive on your skin, but then you throw it off and you're cold, so you put it back in, and it's hot in front, and then you flip and you flop, and flip. This goes on, and then you're sick. Like the first 10 days, you're puking and just can't even stomach any food. After about 10 days, you can eat a little bit and whatever. It goes through hell. You go through hell. It was a nightmare, and I don't never want to go through that again. And again, this is one of the reasons why I'd be so hard on drugs because, what? First of all, I'm very blessed in the regard that I even lived. I lived through the addiction. I lived through withdrawals. And so I'm very blessed. So when I look at, some dude sitting out there and he's freaking stacking up chips, flipping heroin, so a bunch of an army of middle class suburban kids every day take their annual pilgrimage down to the ghetto to buy $100 worth of dope, because they live with their parents and they're out in the suburbs, and they either take Uber or they take a bus, and they have a Gratiot in Detroit. A bus line goes through, and they call it the Trail of Tears, because every day there's like 5,000 people from the suburbs take the bus down to the ghetto, get their dope, and go back. Trail of Tears. That's 5,000 lives that are destroyed. People dying sick. The kid's selling it. He's sitting there playing PlayStation. He's stacking his chips. He's got a new car up front. He's like, I don't want to work. I'd rather just ruin these people's lives. I got an issue with that. That's the problem. I'm like, no, they need to enforce the law. Arrest people like that. Put them in jail.
Jansen's saying jail's supposed to be a deterrent. There's a lot of studies that show it's really not.
I mean,
I would disagree with that. We should get Jansen on here. He'd be fun to listen to. I'm sure me and him are probably closer to agreeing on this for a change. But I think jail is to protect people from you, because you are so bad that you have to be in a cage. Right? You're like a wild animal. That's my interpretation of jail. Not because you broke some law that some fat guys made up, and I don't know.
But Bill, I believe me, I see your point, but you have to have some form of deterrent. Otherwise, this is a lawless world. You know what I'm saying?
If it's a deterrent, but I don't see that it is.
It is, dude. Trust me. Nobody wants to go to jail. You don't think it's a deterrent? Trust me. I've been in drug houses.
And I guess there's a million people that want to be in jail.
There are. They'd rather than have jobs, rather than work and do the right thing, they'd rather take a shortcut and risk going to jail. I've been in houses during drug raids, bro. Trust me, when you're in a house during a drug raid, every mother effer in that house jumps up and runs and tries to get out. Why? Well, they don't want to go to jail, Bill. They're like, I don't want. None of them want to go to jail.
Nobody wants to go to jail, but a lot of people do.
Huh?
I don't want to go to jail, but a lot of people do. Or a lot of people are like, it's just the cost of doing business.
Well, that's true.
Right here. He don't give a damn.
I knew too much. Listen, you don't want to go to jail. You just said it, Bill. You said, I don't want to go to jail. You're right. And therefore, you make choices that don't risk you going to jail.
Right.
I don't want to go to jail anymore.
Dude, like, you know what? I'm going to deal dope. I'm going to make a bunch of money. And if I got to do some time,
Well, that's what a lot of them think. Dude, let me tell you something, bro. I know you know me pretty good, and I'm not this bad guy anymore. But think about how this. If I wanted to, me being me, you know how easy it would be for me to just go hit the nearest town and just beat and rob everybody for their money? Right. You know what I'm saying? If I wanted to, it'd be easy. There's a lot of up north people here that are completely clueless. They'd be defenseless. They'd walk out of the bank. I'd grab them, say, give me the money. I'd punch your freaking face out. I could do that all day long.
Right, it'd be easy for me to extort and embezzle a lot of money without anybody else finding out.
But you're not doing it. You don't do it because you don't want to go to jail. I'm not out robbing because I don't want to go to jail. I've been to jail. I know how bad it sucks. At prison, they both suck. So I'm not going to go robbing or stealing and selling drugs or anything because I don't want to go to jail. So yes, it's a deterrent.
We also know that it's the wrong thing to do as Christians.
That too.
It weighs in very heavily.
Very heavy.
Don't do
very heavy.
Right.
But for the most part, people don't want to go to jail. And the people who do go to jail, they're weighing the risk. And I'm glad you're being devil's advocate. But if a young guy sitting in a trap house in the hood, you got a choice, stay in school, get good grades, do the right thing, try to get a scholarship, go to college, whatever. Or he can be lazy, go pop, play video games, and sling a sack all day. But don't be surprised after a year or 6 months or whatever, it doesn't ever last long. And cops kick in the door, put you in cuffs, take you to jail. Now,
guys rob you and blah blah blah.
Or somebody rob you, right? Somebody kills you, rob you.
Ways to make money than slinging rocks and drugs.
Right. Not only that, but the $6,000 you took 3 months to save up now has to pay for a lawyer. So you get a lawyer and you bond out or whatever. I'm just saying, the short route is never justified and it's never encouraged. It's not worth it. You don't want to go to jail. You don't want to spend a day in jail. He asked me what's the difference. Prison is what's different environment. It's more long-term prisoners who know how to do time, know how to be respectful. They're cleaner, hygienic, and there's a lot more very violent people in prison. That's the thing. When you're in a county jail, I mean, you can get in a fight. I've been in a few of them. But it's not like somebody's going to freaking stab your freaking throat out. You know what I'm saying? It's very unlikely someone's going to stab you to death. In prison, every prison I was in, there were murders. People, you could get killed really easy. People will get killed. So you had to be very watchful of what you said and how you said it and who you dealt with and how you dealt with them. And there's prison politics are no joke, bro. I mean, you could be with this crew, and if you go talk to that crew, and one of these guys see you talking to that crew is going to suspect you're on a double agent. And one day you're sitting there eating your burger in the chow hall, and somebody comes up and rams a knife through your throat. I mean, it happens all the time. That's why I basically avoided everybody.
Hey, did you see that Nasser guy, the gymnast pervert doctor guy?
No.
Yeah,
No.
you know who I'm talking about, right?
No.
Okay, you remember the gymnastics scandal when the doctor was raping all those girls?
Oh yeah.
He got stabbed like 14 times or something. He got it in the back. He got it in the chest. He got it twice in the neck, I think.
Good.
Yeah, but he's alive.
I'm not saying from a Christian perspective, good.
That's an aside. Yeah.
I'm saying people like that, when God delves out His wrath through the man who did it, I don't have a problem with it. You're a pervert, a rapist, a pedophile, someone like that. There's no sentence too ugly for you. I don't care what it was. I wouldn't care if they, the cartels got a hold of you and and chained you to a tree and skinned you alive and put freaking honey on you and let the bees eat you alive. I mean, nothing's too bad if you rape or pillage or take advantage of a child or a woman. Yeah.
Right, and I think we all agree. Like, there's no debate there. Those people never get out. They never get out. Hey, JC from West Coast is here, man. Good to see you, buddy.
What's up, JC?
Great stuff. We've had better comments now, I think, than we ever have. But Ballsy says jails have become mental health facilities. If people had access to health care without going to jail, would be helpful.
Well, here's the thing. When I was in prison, when I first got arrested, I tried to use the insanity route to this is my lawyer. Yeah. My lawyers said play crazy. This is an option. So they took me down to an insane asylum and evaluated me. I tried to play crazy, but I tried to play crazy my best I could, but it wasn't good enough. And they said I was
too complex. Even the judge got tripped up.
You got to commit. You have to commit. But my lawyer was like,
smart too. You got to know. You got to be a psychologist to play crazy. My
lawyer said you can act like you were under duress and you can say that you were, blah 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 blah. I was like, oh, I tried. It didn't work. But what happened when about the time I went to prison, they also started closing all the insane asylums, the crazy houses, and they started just putting them in prison. So they just started remember when I said there was, when they needed to find a way to put more, fill up the prisons, they built all those prisons. And that was one of the ways. And, insane asylums are really horrible places, man. My mother was in a couple of them. And I went and visited my mother in an insane asylum, which is super sad, man. It's your mom. My mom was a super sweet, kind of like she's a little docile and flighty and not all there.
My mom was.
Yeah, my mom was harmless, man. And they got her in this freaking place, and it's just crazy people everywhere, clucking like chickens and banging her head off the walls, and just crazy as a mother ever. And I'm like, what is my mom doing there? And those people, anyways, they ended up taking those people, a lot of them, and they shut down like 10 crazy houses, and they only left one open in Ypsilanti. That's the one that they took me to evaluate me. And they put the rest in prison. So every day in some prisons, like this one prison I was in, Carson City, they had a whole unit that was the crazy ward. Every day at med time, there was this line out the medical building for all these medicated freaking, crazies. There's like 40, 50, 60, 100 of them. They're all sitting in line waiting to get their med, go in there to get their medication, and they show them they swallowed it. Other pills. It's crazy. I mean, but literally crazy. The prisons became insane asylums. They stored. So now you're on the yard with crazy mother effers that are literally mentally lunatics, and some of them are violent, some of them are irrational. I mean, I remember this old man when I right before I came home. I'm on the phone talking to my wife. He's a skinny little drunk driver, but he's mentally ill. He's all a mess. He's a completely mess. He comes walking down the hall and he shits on the floor right in front of me. I see the turd fall out of his short shorts and go clunk on the floor. I said, "What the freaking disgusting mother ever?"
No,
Man,
they don't
crazy.
even. They're just still shit walking, like my wolf.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, when my mom used to punch people and stuff, like we'd get calls like that. Well, how awesome would it be if our moms would have been together like that? Not awesome, but you know what I mean.
Well, maybe they're together now. Who knows?
That would be cool.
You got any good questions or comments that you want to address? There's a bunch of them.
There's a ton. Hang on.
And,
Well, let's see, Jansen. Bottom line, the scales of justice are far from balanced in the U.S. Poor people go to prison. Wealthy people go to politics.
well, that's true. That's that was my first point. Man, I got a banana on me, dude. My point was, if you're I actually got a banana on myself. It pissed me off. Yeah, if you got money for a lawyer, you can walk on a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have money for a lawyer, you cook. So there's no scales. The scales of justice are not fair. There's nothing fair about it. You can get sentenced to, you can get, for the same crime, you could get 10 years in one county, cross the border, and get 10 months in the other county. There's no uniformity to it. And again, black, white, it can make a difference between if you've got a bunch of black judges or you got a bunch of white judges. Depends the county makeup. Like certain counties, I'm sure are lean the other way. They're a little more racist against black people. They don't want blacks in their county or community, so they intentionally hammer them. Then you go to prisons, and now the state goes, there's this big disparity between black and white, so we're going to leave whites in prison longer to try and balance out the disparity. That's not fair. That's not justice. That's bullcrap. There's a million different forms of injustice in our. But as far as Jensen goes, though, let me say this: you're in Mexico, bro. You got no room to talk because the scales of justice in Mexico are bought by dope money. You know what I'm saying? And if you ain't got none, you could be in serious trouble real easy. You mean they might just pull your ass over for looking white, and then what? It's a shakedown. We need $5,000 now. Are you going to go to the freaking to the Federale building? And it just there's no. So as bad as it is here, I still would wager that the American justice system is probably the best and most fair, which is unbelievable. Really, if you think about how scummy and scambaggy it is. But
yeah, I don't know about that. But
where do you think would be better?
I'd have to study it.
Yeah, me too.
I would guess Norway, because we're all the same there. They're not as diverse. But I would say this: what is the purpose of jail? It's to protect us, but also, what is the purpose of letting somebody out of jail? Okay, it's because you put them in this thing, and they've learned and they've rehabilitated, and they are now ready to enter society, right? And I would argue
they serve their debt to society, and hopefully
have done it. But I would argue that you did it in spite of the system, not because of it.
Did what? Rehabilitated?
You went in bad and came out good, but I don't think that's you. You know,
that's me.
Gucci, okay, Cayucci, a few guys, but not many. You know what I mean? It's not the norm. It should be the norm.
Well, here's the reason why it's not the norm. Because first of all, in certain communities, including the community I came from, be it Italians, mafia, or in the hood, whatever, they glamorize certain behavior. They glorify certain behavior. So a lot of people, when they go to prison, they just dive into that atmosphere. Prison is a very gangster, violent, gang-orientated place, and most people are weak. So they say this is the best way to survive in prison is to join a gang, because now I got numbers. Well, if you want to stay in a gang, you got to do some violent stuff, or you got to sell drugs, or you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to extort a guy, you got to fight, you got to whatever. So
now there are guys in there leading the thing that are never getting out.
Most of the leaders of the gangs are never going home. So
they're never getting out. So there's there's nothing to benefit them, and you're going straight.
They're working young, dumb knuckleheads like Mark.
Right,
They're
because they
straight
are never getting out. This is their life. This is their kingdom.
I'd say that to some of them gangbangers. Like some of these racial gangs. I said, bro, I'd be right to him. I said, listen, bro, you're scared. You come to prison, you're 16, 17 years old, you shot a guy because he stepped on your shoes, whatever it was. Now you're in prison, but just you now, no gun, no gang, no nothing. I said, so you're not going to stand in the yard all alone. You're terrified. So some guy, some 50-year-old Mobite, they call him Bays, walks up and says, hey, man, you want to be part of something? Join our gang, join our clique. You know what I mean? We'll protect you. If you need cosmetics or food or anything like that, we'll got you. Just be part of this. And of course, they're like, yeah, I and they says, if you get into any trouble, come to us and we'll help you out. So there's a huge gang. There's literally how many thousands and thousands of them, 20, 30, 40,000. I don't even know what it is. 40,000 of them. So they join up. But they're, you take them away from the gang. And the same goes for white guys who join gangs. I've said the same spiel, the same monologue to guys who were in like Latin Counts, Vice Lords, all the gangs. At one point, somebody got cocky and tough with me, and I'd say, hey man, notice that I don't walk the yard with nobody because I don't need nobody, bro. You got the prison. We're scared. Join the gang. And now you freaking think you're a tough guy because you got 25 guys. I'm like, But anyways, still when that world becomes their only world, all they got, they usually come out worse. They come out worse. But then there are guys like me and Bucci who say, I don't want to be that. So I think Bucci was that guy for a long time.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, Bucci was that guy because he was bitter about his unfair sentencing.
Yeah. I got a ton of friends who went to prison. They were street guys. What do you think they're going to do when they go to prison? They didn't just say, you know what, I'm going to be a good guy now. I'm going to change. No, they were street guys who went to prison. They did street stuff in prison, then got out of prison and went back to street stuff. That's why they all recidivate. That's why they all keep going back in. Dude, I knew a guy who was a K prefix. A K prefix means he'd been back. This is how many times he'd been back to prison. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. 11 times he'd been to prison. He was one of my 4-man like cube mates in F unit, Ken Ross prison. And I'm like,
system. Hey, can you put up the comment from Mason Holt? You'll like this.
I said to the dude, do you like prison, bro? I mean, you must really like it here, bro.
Some people do. Some people have grown up there and don't know anything else.
He was a crackhead, so trying to find
people are better off there, I guess. You know what I mean?
Huh?
But to me, some people are better off there, I guess, in the current system. But to me, the system should be like trying to get more people like you, Bucci, Coyote, guys that are just take the God-given gifts they have. First of all, give them God. We can't do that anymore, right? And then turn them around and point them in the right direction. And there's always going to be the douchebags that take that system and manipulate it. But I don't know what the answer is. But I don't like what's happening now, right? So Mason Holt, if you can't find it, he goes, that Bill is a proponent of affirmative action and reparations.
I'm not.
When did that happen?
Yeah, I'm not. Nobody. I had this discussion with my wife yesterday. If I own a company with 100 employees, and this is me being dead ass honest, right? If all 100 applicants were black and they were the best employees of everybody you implied, I would be like, we got a black company. We're going to celebrate freaking Black History Month like with a bang. Everybody black. I mean, Malcolm X can be on the wall. I don't care. As long as the people if they're the best, they deserve to be there. I'm hiring them before I hire anyone else. Right. On the other hand, if it's all white people that are the best at it, that's what's going to be there. That's what people don't get about corporate America. They don't get that it's one color, green. The people who run these corporations do not care. All right. No different than if you have a brain injury and your life is on the line and you walk into the doctor's office and the surgeon is Ben Carson, right? And he's black. Do you give a shit that he's black? Hell no. This is the best of the best. I want you. You're black. Please give me the black guy. He's the best in the world. Give me him. That's how
it actually started a long time ago because a bunch of people wouldn't give them a chance. Those days are over. I'm sorry. We've had a black president. We have superstar black athletes. We're integrated. It's insulting to the black community now to say that they need a leg up from the government or those poor little things can't make it. It's a degradation to them.
Yeah, it's a slap in the face.
Statistically, in the recent polls, they said, no, we don't think that we need that. We don't need that shit.
No.
And so, it is. But I mean, Mason, what I do is I try to be a devil's advocate so we don't get on here and it's just an echo chamber.
Yeah, bashing.
No discussion. Trust me, I'm a conservative. Anybody that knows
Bill does a great job of doing that and playing an advocate and everything. Here, and then the thing about affirmative action and all that, listen, man, all you got to do, if you don't like the fact that you're getting beat, if your test scores aren't competing with the other student, I didn't have nothing to do with that. You did. You didn't study as much. You didn't work as hard. So that's one thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's insulting. And then if I was black, you know how insulted I would be? Because you're essentially saying, hey, listen, everybody else is held to this standard, but black people, they're not as smart, so we'll cut you a break, all right? You can get in with this. Like, wait a minute, man. I don't need to know. I wouldn't need no freaking handicap. F that. I'll work harder. I watched a video yesterday where they were on the campus of Harvard, right? And asking them 5 questions. You get $1,000, you win 5 questions. And they're pretty diverse with it, whatever. But I love seeing the black, like this smart little nerdy black kid. He got it right, won $1,000. It just goes to show you, the kid's freaking, when you're smart, you're smart. You know, he answered, that's it. It doesn't matter what color you are. I don't care if you're Asian. If the best people are the smartest people, should be, a meritocracy. They should fill the positions. I don't care what color they are. Again, and if you poll right now 100 Fortune 500 CEOs, right? And if you said, if you were to hire the 100 best employees, regardless of race, would you care if they were all black? I would say 99 out of 100 would say, I wouldn't care at all. As long as they're the best and best performers, then yes, and they'd be a black company. Right. So these people don't. I think there is a 1% that probably is racist. If there is some one guy, probably be like, yeah, no, I don't like black people. I'd be like, yeah, all right. There's no difference if you ask 100 black owners.
I don't meet many, man, and I'm pretty much in the trenches a lot. I don't meet many.
What?
Racist people, really racist.
Me neither.
I even had an employee that had a KKK dragon tattooed on his back. And then when I started messing with him and talked to him, he goes, I voted for Obama. I'll admit black people have a bad deal in this country. I'm like, you're the worst freaking Clanny I ever met.
Are you David Chappelle?
You're just a freaking idiot with a tattoo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's stupid. Why would you get that tattoo?
So,
I don't know.
Jansen says, do you think we can limit the number of laws to the 10 commandments? We have too many laws. Most people break over 100 laws a day. I don't know that it can be that simple anymore, man.
I got to get rid of a clown. So I raped it. I did take the woman's car, but I didn't rape anybody. It's a clown. So, I don't know. I feel like I think that people who are proponents of affirmative action are really just building in a handicap for an entire race. It's just like
they're trying.
And now at times it's not even the black people, and that's what I'm saying. They're like, we don't want a handicap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And the odd thing is, like what they found out in the college stuff, they were like discriminating against Asians, which is a weird thing that's happening now.
Yeah.
Right? You're having out west, you're having Asian people get assaulted and stuff. Somehow they became a whipping boy. I thought that was over, but
the thing with the Asians was they were because they were scoring higher than everybody else.
Right.
They were getting accepted at a ratio that was exceeding whites and blacks and everyone's. But so they said they started to discriminate against them. It's like, we have to let more blacks in, so we gotta no. If the Asians are
not at the highest levels of education, man, you cannot lower the bar at Harvard, Yale. These are the best of the best. These are the people that are going to drive us into the future. It ain't me. It ain't you. We get it. It's like,
look at the White House, though. I guess you look at Jean-Claude Pierre or whatever her name is. She's the personifies and the diversity hire. Black lesbian woman. You know what I'm saying? She's not the best. You already heard of her virtue signaling. There's a bunch of people in the administration who are not the best, but they just diversity hires them.
Oh, when he said, I'm going to hire a black woman. You know what I mean? You just freaking eliminated the best candidates. And that's not necessarily, but probably. You said, I'm not taking the best of the best. I'm taking the best of best from a very small.
From a tiny pool. What about the guy, the tranny dude that was stealing luggage from the airport?
Great pick, right? Great pick.
Well done.
Complete losers too, but still.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, but they're hiring based on diversity and ESG rather than meritocracy, and that's the problem. So again, that defers to justice. Just in terms of justice, it's another example of there really being no justice. You know what I'm saying? In certain instances, what about? Okay,
like look at the progress we've made since like the 50s, the 60s.
Amazing.
It's amazing progress.
That's why I say we're the best country.
And why do we gotta have like, hey, you're not woke, you're this, you're that? Why can't we just go, yeah, we're doing it, man. We're the greatest.
Yeah, we're Americans.
Moving forward. Why can't we just take the win and keep building on it?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to tear it all down.
Well, they do that. They do that. Divide and conquer, bro. Listen, if everybody said we're all Americans, we're in this together, let's do it, then we'd be powerful and whatever. And they couldn't.
And then
they
would be feared again. Yes.
Right. They couldn't steal from us the way they do. They need to divide and conquer. They need to tell black people that they're victims. They need to tell transgender and gay people they're victims and they hate us. And they need to distract too. It's 3-card Monte. You know what I'm saying? While we're arguing over race and religion and this and that, they're stealing hundreds of billions of dollars right under your nose. You know, and so they need you.
Most people can't even conceive of it. I have a hard time wrapping my head around the numbers.
Yeah, me
like
too.
I said, the lotto, we're trying to win tonight because we bought 5 tickets because, that dramatically increased our odds. To win a minuscule amount of the money we're going to send to Ukraine to pay pensions. And, they gave a big speech today like, hey, you got to know, I know it's your money, but you got to know you're helping people. Like, yeah, not our people, douche.
Yeah, all that money we're just giving away. No oversight, no accountability for where it's going, nothing. Just here, billions. Well, meanwhile, again,
it meant a lot coming from the Ukrainian Milton Berle. That really moved me.
You're right, exactly. I just think we're when in a time when our inflation, a time where our country is a mess, and a time where gas prices are high, a time when food prices are high, we're giving hundreds of billions of dollars away and not even then not even telling us where it's going or for who or what. It's just blatant thievery and theft. Biden is, if you hear him say why he's all slurring, he says we gotta keep this round justified. Putin's the devil, and it's like this guy don't even know what he's talking about. He's reading from a prompter. At the end, he says, he actually reads the bottom. It says end page.
Read that again.
He goes, right, read that again. Read again.
That was great.
Read again. Repeat.
That's the part that always gets to me. There's always the wild card that I think God throws in. Like you had this really sharp, razor sharp guy that was like fleecing America and was part of the plan. And all of a sudden he goes nuts. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just like everything's going according to plan and these idiots elect Trump. And Trump can't be bought. It's just funny.
Right.
Things happen,
Uh-huh.
It's like like the smartest guys in the world that think they have everything planned out. It's like a soap opera. Like there's always a wild card. And I tell people, especially my son, I'm like, trust me, your enemies are always a lot smarter and craftier than you give them credit for. They're never as dumb as you think they are.
Nikki says, why do average American citizens glorify criminals and criminal activity? I don't know if the average citizen does, but a lot of people like the movies and books and things. I don't know if they glorify it.
We're kind of in a genre where, like we talk about it because it's interesting.
Right. But I don't glorify it. I don't ever want to come across as glorifying violence, crime, drug life, criminals, anything like that. I share stories about my life and I tell them in a way that they're anecdotal and entertaining. But I also want to make it very clear that that was me when I was 25 years old, you know what I'm saying? And I'm 50 today, so it's a big difference. I did 13 years in prison.
Plus, we always illustrate, where did that life lead you? Where did your new life lead you?
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Because the old gunner that's robbing and doing smack and robbing banks is not going to know Armand Asante. It's never going to happen.
Right, exactly.
That guy never meets Armand Asante.
Nope, exactly. He gets to sit down at his house and freaking stay with him for 3 days and get to talk to him and become friends with him. No, that old guy was a freaking lunatic. And funny, that's interesting. When I was sitting there talking to Armand Asante at length for days, I get the impression that he's just, well, not the impression. He told me flat out. He's just like, man, you freaking were a crazy mother effer. Basically, he said at one point, he said, dude, you're the most interesting person I've ever met. Like, you shouldn't even be alive, man. I said, I kissed my charm on my chain. It's like, you're right, I shouldn't be. It's a miracle. He said, you're a miracle, you're alive. I said, yeah. But, I mean, it's not often somebody with that type of past or history is going to sit in a room with Armand Asante alone for 3 days or whatever and have that kind of conversation. Nobody's ever had a conversation with him like that. He's played John Gotti, but nobody sat there and told him, so listen, this is what I used to do. And then, these are some of the stories when I had a gun put to my head, or I got stabbed, or I shot a guy, or I robbed the bank, or I did that. Think about it. A guy like him, you don't ever meet a guy like me in his life because he stays away from him. Well, of course, the old me, not the new me. New me, he thinks now he just thinks I'm a really smart, intelligent, super well-versed writer, super talented writer. In conversation at one point, he's like, all right, there's this one writer I want to get on this project. He said, he's really good. He said, one of the best I've ever known. He's like, he's one of only 3 guys I'd put on your level. That's what he said to me. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, Asante just tell me I'm like one of 3 best writers that he's ever encountered in his life. I guess he did.
Right.
It's pretty cool. The final call.
You just said America is the best, but it's racist. I don't know how you can make that argument when we've had minority presidents.
Yeah, I don't either. Who said that?
Sandra.
She thinks it's racist?
She says,
it's not racist.
Irish, Cherokee, and proud of all 3. I have zero tolerance for racism directed at me or my family. I ain't what you want.
I don't think it's racist at all. If anything, I think it's very racial towards whites these days. I just think there's a lot of hatred and bitterness. Huh?
Yeah, it's racist towards whites.
Yeah, very racist against whites. There's a ton of vitriol and hatred spewed and taught.
Even the whites hate themselves now.
Yeah, they make the whites hate themselves now. I don't. Like I said, I've been white my whole life, and I know most of my friends are white. I've been around white people my whole life, and I can honestly say I don't even know if I've ever known a racist in my life. I know people who haven't liked black people, but they didn't like them. It had nothing to do with their skin. It had to do with how they acted, or because. Like, for example, a friend of mine worked at a factory in Detroit and worked around a bunch of black guys, and they mistreated them. Like they come to work drunk. They wouldn't show up. They wouldn't get in any trouble. They wouldn't do their job. He'd have to do their job for them. They'd start fights with them. A couple of them jumped on him and beat his ass. So he's like, yeah, I don't like black people. He's like, but it's not to do with their skin. It's just how they treated me. They've just been attacked me, jumped me, robbed me, beat me, terrorized me at work. I mean. And it's no, I'm good. So there's people I've met like that, but I don't think I've ever met anyone who says I just don't like black people because they're black. I know. In fact, we wager this. I would say most white people that I've met actually like black people and say they're funny, they're talented in terms of music and athleticism. They're funny as hell. So they actually like them. They're just like and root for them, and they think, hey, the ones that do well or win or succeed, God bless them. Well done. But they don't really give a shit on one way or another about them any more than they care about white families or white people or whatever. They're busy raising their own children, working their jobs.
On a philosophical level, and then on a real level, you're not going to catch me like taking a casual stroll down 8 Mile with my Yorkie.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a reason for it.
You know what I mean? Just like they're not going to walk down Brooklyn with a bunch of Dagos out by the sausage factory, with their freaking whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like there's realities to the world, but it does make us a racist nation.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's worse the other way because I think a black guy, and I can prove this anytime, you could go drive around the east side of Detroit in the suburbs, right? And you'll see black dudes walking around all the time. Most of them are probably just going to work and back, going to a bus station or something, young kid. No, but black people all over the place, walking around the white suburbs, all over the place. You see them everywhere, right? When you go down in the ghetto, you get past 6 Mile,
Won't happen.
You won't see it. You will see no white people walking around.
Nope.
Because they're targeted.
You will actually get pulled over by a cop and be like, "What are you doing here?
Why are you here, man? You crazy?
Get out of here!
Get out of here!" Right? And there's a reason.
My dad got pulled over and told to get out of there.
Yeah. See, you're targeted. So if you're a white person down in the hood, don't be surprised if somebody rolls up on you with a gun and robs you for your wallet.
I got it.
What's up, superstar?
Not much. I just got my school uniform. I just got my school uniform today for 7th grade or whatever. So
your voice sounds different. You're getting older. It's becoming less little girly and more. You got a uniform, huh?
Yeah, and I got my laptop. So
you ready for school?
Yeah, definitely. But my old 6th grade teacher decided to move up to 7th grade math. So
you're gonna have her again?
Yeah, but she didn't really like me. So
you got to make her like you.
No, don't say her name. Come on.
Oh, sorry. But
maybe you can make her like you. Like if you work on her a little bit, she'll like you.
Yeah, work on your charm.
Yeah, exactly. Charm her into liking you. Math sucks. I hate math.
Thank you.
You're getting us in libel suits, so time to go.
What's a libel
Have a good night. I'll explain.
You good, Gina?
Good night. Good night.
Good night. Anyways, so the moral of the story is justice. There ain't a whole lot of it in the states and courts of justice, but on the other hand, I can't think of anywhere better to be. I think there's more justice in America than in like Canada, because if you disagree with Trudeau, they'll freeze your bank account. Trudeau. I get like the
Trudeau. Yeah, Trudeau. And we haven't even talked about. They also weaponized the IRS.
Yeah, it's all weaponized. This is like Biden. When Joe Biden says, "I'm going to hire 87,000 new IRS agents," and then implies it's to go after the rich people. How many rich people do you think there are in this country? I mean, there might not be 87,000 people who are rich. You know what I'm saying? Like multimillionaires.
Well, the classification of tax the rich is getting lower and lower and lower.
All right, exactly. So he was saying 87,000. That means there's going to be freaking tax agent for every like 3 people. I mean, no, dummies. He's going after you. He's going to go after your PayPal. He's going to go after your freaking side hustle. He's going to go after your
right. The new limit seems to be. He goes, "We're only going after people who make 400,000 or more." You know what I mean? It's like, trust me, it's not that much, right?
No.
Hey, Carl Jansen, why is he Carl Lake? Says, what is the difference between racism and prejudice? I think racism is when you hate somebody for the color of their skin or the place they come from. Prejudice merely means that you are judging somebody based on things you don't know personally. You're looking at all the superficial values of them. There could be their income class, right? It could be the color of their skin. It could be the company they work for. You have prejudged them with almost no information except the very superficial. That's the difference.
I like, he says, stop paying taxes, funding the beast. The problem is, at the current state of things, if you stop paying your taxes, then you lose your home.
Incarcerate us and take our land.
Exactly. So now, if there's a revolution, if there's a uprising, and like people are like, we're tired of, let's say, this agenda or whatever they're doing, and I was able to meet with my local law and legislators and say, well, none of us are gonna pay taxes anymore, and we're gonna keep doing this, but we're not gonna pay federal taxes and we're not gonna obey the federal law. I'd be like, all right, cool, I'm ready, but we might have to fight for it, because if they send like IRS or FBI or whatever, Secret Service, you might have to shoot them. And I'd be like, well, I'm down for the revolution, because I'm tired of getting the D from behind. I'm just saying.
Right. So Sandra said, I wrote a poem called Mama at Italy in 2007. Back then, my best friend finally had to tell me Italians were calling me a N-word behind my back, and she's Jewish. That's fine, but that's somebody that's racist. That doesn't mean that America is racist or that the system is racist. I can tell you, a good story. I was at a party. I threw a big party, right? And I had a lot of people, and I invited a foreman from a company that I was working for like 10 minutes. He seemed okay, right? The foreman, he seemed cool. And turned out he was trying to push heroin at my party and stuff, and was really messed up, okay? So when I politely said, hey, man, this isn't the place for you, he called me a wop, which I'd never been called in my life. Never. Yeah. Of course, I know the term, but nobody, he goes, F you, you effing wop, right? So I was like, grab him, right? And my Polish friend, if that matters, grabbed him. We put him in a car. And my intention was to take him home. I was really going to take him home. But he was so nasty in the car that, that I said, pull over. And we were in a busy traffic-ridden road. And I grabbed him and I threw him in the middle of the road. And I remember his hands going, when the car was like, hey.
Yeah.
And we drove away. And as going back, my friend goes, hey, man, I understand, but you realize you just embodied everything he said about you. Like, yeah, you're right. My bad.
Damn, dude. That was a wop thing to do, bro.
It was a wop thing.
That was a wop. I
was like, I feel bad.
Yeah, right. I threw a pimp out of a moving van one time, and when he hit the ground, I don't know how he did it, but it looked like it ripped his arm out of the socket.
I remember the weird shape of his body as it happened. But
yeah, exactly. I remember when I threw this guy out.
Call his girlfriend and tell him where I threw him.
Yeah, at least there was that.
I did that.
So Nikki just said made an argument about like would I know Armando Sante if I was just some construction worker or working in a factory in Illinois or something. So the answer would be no. But if the answer would be that construction worker or factory worker wrote a really good novel and was able to get it into the hands of Armando Sante, then possibly.
Armando Sante did a lot of work with Mark Harmon on NCIS. If Armando Sante, if Mark Harmon was just a blue collar worker, would Armando Sante work with him on NCIS? No.
No, right.
It was the talent that brought Gunner to Armando Sante, not the gangster life. It just manifested in that way this time. But actually, the role they're working on is only partially based on that anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And Armando Sante is more interested in his talent in other projects than his life story.
Exactly. But, maybe the door got opened because of my previous life.
The Lord works in mysterious ways. But Armando, he knows a lot of other people that aren't gangsters, right?
Yeah. Well,
anybody I know isn't because I, am a jerk. I know other people for other reasons.
They figure that later on.
Yeah, it's like something that gets revealed later.
Well, I got a funny history with Armando Sante. I reached out to Armando Sante 5 years ago and said, "Would you read my book?" He said, "Yeah." This is on Facebook Messenger. Gave me his address. I sent it, right? And so we started reading it. We talked about. He was on the middle of a big project in Europe and filming, and he was trying to read it. He's like, I read the first 20% of it, and I love it. It's really good. Clearly, you have a lot of intimate knowledge of this world, and probably a lot of it's inspired by your life or the characters or whatever. Which is some of it was inspired by characters and happenstance, whatever. And then I didn't want to keep bothering him because I knew his wife was struggling. She was sick, and I didn't want to bother the guy, so I just let him go. He probably didn't read him, whatever. And then all these years later, when a different project came into light, popped up, I thought of him and said, "Here's this role. Would you be, be interested in playing it?" He said, "Yeah." We did a Zoom call and ended up flying out to meet him and whatever. But so the best part was when I was in his house. He's this big old house, and there's the studio where he smokes cigars. It's a really cool room, and it's got a pile of books. It's he's got libraries and stuff and shelves and all of it, but he had this pile of books. It must have been 500 books. Just a big, almost a mountain of books, but they're stacked, so they're kind of neat, And I walked over as we're walking by it. I'm like, I said, "I know my book's in there somewhere." He goes, "Oh yeah, no, it's in there. I know where it is." I said, "Yeah, sure, pal. You're 500. You don't think he's?" He reaches right in there and goes, "Oh, here it is." And he pulled it out. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, right there. I got a picture of me with him and me and him in his house, holding my book.
Mine's right here.
There's your level 2 or volume 2, which is awesome because you're working on volume. You said you're done with chapter 3.
I'm on
which is a good chapter. What was that chapter about? Refresh me.
Oh my God, it's one of my favorites. King's back. He has to go see Leone. He has no choice. He's got to go do. And he's asking to have Vonnie back on his crew, and he refuses. And they're looking at the opulence of his bar and stuff. And Leone's kind of like he's drunk and he's drinking grappa and he's all messed up. And but then when they come, he like asserts his authority, refuses. He's maneuvering. He's starting to feel like himself again. You know what I mean? It's almost like King did him a little favor by making him sharp again. And getting him. And he left, and he's pleased with himself when they left. And King's like, I'm gonna have to kill him. It's a great chapter, and it's a huge chapter. Man. It took forever.
Good. I'm gonna listen to it now. I enjoy listening to my book. I love it. Your voice and narration is awesome. It's better than the other narrators, so I enjoy listening to it. I get sucked in. I want more.
I know. I'm trying, man. I'm like, it's so much harder than I thought, but I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Why? Why is it harder than you thought? I think you're putting too much pressure on yourself, like trying to get it perfect. It doesn't have to be just like flawless.
Well, it's got to be right.
I mean, I get it. It's a lot of bang for that buck in that story. I guess we want to get it right, but I mean, if there's
I'll be dead someday, and people will be listening to this. You know what I mean? It's like I got to get it right.
Or it helps us get a freaking movie deal, and you become a millionaire, and you're like, I helped do that. You know what I'm saying?
I think minimally this will exist long after I'm dead. And like when I listened to the first one, no offense to the guy, but I'm like, I would have done it better. So
you would have
to do it better.
You would have done it better, and I mean, he was good.
I was some little dago listening, going, "I'd have done it better."
Yeah, dude, I've listened to the first 3 chapters you've done. They're better, flat out. They're better. And that guy was dude was a kind of a famous narrator, man. Freaking like he had a bunch of bestsellers and stuff. Big deal. My wife auditioned a whole bunch of them, and he was okay. I think he did good voices, but I don't think he did a good King. Which sucks. He made King kind of like this stoic nerd, or what? Not nerd, but a little bit too square, if you will. He didn't have like the real, like an authentic Dago, wise guy, tough guy, street guy kind of feel.
I don't think he was. Yeah, he completely wrapped his head around it.
Yeah, even though King was not like your hardcore tough guy, street guy, gangster. He was more of a racketeer, white collar racketeer, and methodical type businessman with a twist. But he still should have had a little panache, a little flash of gangster when he talked, how he acted. He didn't do well, but he did some of the other characters did great. Like he did great with Vonnie. I think he did Vonnie great. He had the New York accent.
Don Falcone sounded like Count Dracula.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Too. He did okay with Don Falcone. Anyways, I'm trying to remember that chapter when they walk out of Leone's place, which I think is called Lito's.
Oh, Leone's got like sharks under the glass.
Oh, that's Atlantis. He's got a place called Atlantis. Yeah. The new club out in like Anchor Bay he opens up. But when they say, and he walks out of there and Vonnie says, "What are you gonna do?" What does he say? I said, "I'm gonna have to kill him." He's like, "Well, what do I do about me and you?" And he says, "Pick me up tomorrow, right?" Something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like,
but he said he's gonna kill Anthony too.
He says he's gonna kill Anthony too.
Yeah.
But then something. But you know what happens next because Pamela comes into the picture.
Yep.
And she begs him not to.
Yep.
I shouldn't say it.
I'm working through 4 now. But it's hard because you use a lot of Sicilian words that I'm not familiar with. You know what I mean? And when you Google them, they're not there. And it's like, and sometimes it's 2 a.m. I can't just text you and ask.
Yeah. Text me. I don't care. What are you doing up at 2 o'clock? Why are you up at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Man, it's weird. My voice sounds very good in the morning. I like the way it sounds when
my God, bro.
But at night, it's scratchy and it's rough and it doesn't sound the same as the other times. So I need a time. I got to record at the same time of day to get the right sound in my voice.
Well, you are freaking anal. That's insane, bro. Your voice sounds great.
Podcast, but on an audiobook, you're going to listen to this concurrently. You have to hear that.
Nobody will know the difference.
I do.
It's all in your head. I think it's all in your head. It's being anal retentive.
No,
I think. So you're getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to narrate my book?
No, I'm getting up at 3:30.
Whatever. It's crazy. Your voice, you got a great.
After 2 cups of coffee at 3:30 sounds smooth. I don't sound like.
You
But
sound
if I
fine
after
now.
a few cigars and a few drinks, I don't sound the same.
But that's mental though. I think after a few drinks, yeah, of course you don't sound the same.
I hear it. Yeah. I hear it.
Is it all right, bro? Well, whatever. I think you'll do great regardless of when you record it, and it'll be awesome. So I wouldn't stress it too much, but I look forward to having the whole book done. I think it's going to be a game changer when I can give it to people and say, here, if you're not going to read the book because you don't have time, listen to the 2 books, the 2 audio books. And then boom, because you never get the full effect of the story until you read volume 2. Nobody does. I mean, it's good. Volume 1 is entertaining. It's got some power, good characters, good happenstance. It's exciting. It's whatever. It's romantic. Nothing. Volume 2 is where the magic happens. But if you're an audiobook listener and you heard 1, you don't have time to sit there and read a 550-page novel, then you're just kind of stuck in limbo. There's got to be hundreds or if not thousands of people who are waiting for volume 2. Not no pressure on you. I'm just saying to those people. But what happens is when people start buying and reading volume 2, they'll start reviewing it, talking about it, and then the algorithm will boost its sales and who knows what. But I'm also, when I release Snowman Chronicles later this year, I'm going to try to in marketing drive traffic to be a king too, and say, other novels by this author are such whatever. Maybe my author page at Amazon will have all 3 books. What is that on your screen? Oh, that's Extraordination. God, eyes are so bad.
No. That's the 3-strike rule.
Oh, is that what it is? See, it's on blind.
It was used to incarcerate people, and it was meant to be it's like 3 gun crimes and you're out, right? 3 felonies and you're out. 3 of the same crime and you're out. But when you get into the factors of it, you're like, okay, they got him on the 3-strike rule. But when you get into the intricacies of it, you're like, this guy shouldn't be put away for 30 years. But they are.
No. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not a fan of the 3-strike rule, man. I don't think that's insane to me.
Sometimes it's like it sounds so good when they push it, and then all of a sudden,
I never heard it sound good. 3 freaking strikes? Are you kidding? You're like
this guy raped a girl, then he raped a girl, then he raped a girl.
That guy, yes,
That's right.
yeah, him. Well, he should have got 30 years the first time.
That's me. It's the marketing of these things, where he robbed a store at gunpoint. He robbed a store at gunpoint. The 3rd time, he finally killed somebody. You know what I mean, or whatever. It's just like.
Yeah, but it's not like that. In California, it was like he got caught with a crack rock. He got caught with a crack rock and got caught with a nickel bag.
Yeah, that's not how it was marketed, though. Yeah.
All right, of course.
Yeah. You shoplifted 3 times. A lot of dudes, you'd be surprised. 3 shoplifting crimes. It's 3 strikes. It's like, holy crap.
Well, in Michigan, they have a 3-strike rule, too.
Was mentally ill and homeless.
Right. Starving on drugs.
I got 27 years in prison.
I give a lot of leeway to drug addicts, you know what I'm saying? Because I know what you'll do for drugs. Some people are worse than others. When I was in L.A.
But at the same time, we got to be protected.
Yeah, when I was in L.A., I went to see my friend Anthony Shores, and he's like, he wanted to park down the street from my hotel. I was in a beautiful hotel. It was a Hyatt or a Hilton or a Hyatt, one of the other version of one. It's called Tommy Hollywood. Anyways, we went to park down there, and we'd have to walk by this Skid Row tent village along the road, which is crazy because it's just kitty corner from this magnificent freaking $400 million hotel or whatever it is. And there's a tent row down there. It's not Tent City or whatever, but it is. And he said he was going to park down there. It just got dark. We're going to go back to the hotel. And I said, dude, don't park down there. Don't go down there. I don't want to go down there. And he says, why? I said, I'm scared. And he's like, I had walked to the store earlier in the day and walked by some homeless people and stuff, and I was freaking out. And then he's like, what, are you scared? What are you scared of? There's some homeless people. I said, bro, I don't want to go by him. And he's like, and I told him, stop, dude. Go around the corner, park somewhere else. I don't want to be around those people. And he's like, why? I said, because I've been someone in that situation. Not homeless, living on the street, but a drug addict desperate for a fix. And I would pull a pistol out and rob the first mother effer that walked by when I needed money. You know what I'm saying? That was the difference between me and most people. Most people wouldn't do that, right? Most people won't pull a gun and just rob some other effer or punch a guy in the mouth and take a sack of weed or drugs or whatever. I would. So here I am, me and you we pull up, we park, we're walking down the street, and a guy like me sitting in a tent goes, oh, that guy looks like he's got a wallet full of money. He walks up, pulls the gun out, says, mother effer, give me the gun. My reaction is to maybe grab the gun, punch him in the face, fight with him, whatever. Or I got to give him my wallet. I lose my license. I can't fly home. They takes my wallet. Now I can't get on the airplane and fly home. And there's a whole chain of events that happens that screw me. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. I don't want to be around no crackheads and homeless people. None. So take me. It doesn't mean I'm not. I don't have empathy for them. I don't think somebody who gets busted with minor drugs.
Right.
Yeah. The thing is, people who get busted with minor drug things like that, possessions and even small sales, should never get more than a year or two in prison at the most, ever, right? What really is needed, and I'll end this on this, in our justice system, what's really truly needed in our justice system for justice, like, I got 13 to 50 years. I don't think there was really any justice in giving me that much time, but, I did my time and I paid my debt to society, so whatever. I think there was a lot of injustice in the amount of time it was given me. But if they really wanted to fix the problem, what they would do is shut down half the prisons they have and reopen. If you need to have your economic stimulus, if you need to have your money-making machine, money-earning, thieving machine, open up long-term rehabs and rehabilitation centers, halfway houses, things like that. And in all these places, let's say you get caught in your third offense with the drugs, right? Or shoplifting, and you're robbing, or whatever. Okay, 6 months in county jail, 18 months in a long-term rehab, 1 year in a halfway house where you must learn responsibility, and that includes you get a job, you learn to pay your bills, you pay your cell phone, you get a car, you get your own apartment. So you get 6 months in jail, 18 months in rehab to reconstruct how your mind looks at the world. So now you can learn that you have value. So they can teach you, listen, man, you don't have to be a loser. You don't have to feel depressed or anxious or anything like that. You're a king. You can be anything. You're one of God's children. Stop looking at yourself like you're worthless and nothing. And the depression that, as a result, makes you want to get high. Then you're like, hey, I'm a drug addict. What a loser. How do I numb myself from feeling like this? More drugs. So it's a cycle that doesn't end. You get high to not feel like you're a loser from me and getting high. If you unthink and unlearn this whole, if you unlearn all this, do a long-term rehab with classes and counseling, and let's address all your psychological issues and your health issues. If there are mental health issues, let's get to those too. Psychologists on site. There's doctors on site. So it's 18 months. For a year and a half, you're in this long-term program, right? You're just relearning how to think and consider yourself a normal, law-abiding, tax-paying, hard-working person that has value to your family, to your friends, to the world. When you walk out of there in 18 months, then you go to a halfway house. If you don't have nothing, no home, no girl, no family to go home to, hey, we'll put you in a halfway house. We'll help you get a job. If you don't have a job, we'll help you get job training, school. If you got to go to school, we'll pay for that. All of this stuff is the economic stimulus. We're still hiring teachers and school and counselors and all these people to do the jobs that were done in the prison. But in the prison, it just house them in a cell and then throw some COs in there to do this all day.
Time ticks by and then you get out. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, and then time ticks by and now you're.
Then you get out and go right back to the same thing.
With the extra baggage of every horrible thing that happened to you while you were here.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Not only that, but you meet a bunch of scumbags in prison that end up making you worse than you were. So you become even a worse criminal.
Yeah, they will educate you.
There's a criminal education. Instead of re-educating yourself and learning how to be a better person and rehabilitating and correcting in prisons, they just throw you in there. I call it the Michigan Department of Criminal Warehousing. That's what it is. There's no corrections. Where's the corrections? I mean, they just throw you in a cell and say, that's it. And with a bunch of other scumbags and say, and then the cops, the COs,
right.
They do nothing.
Enrolled in some kind of education program, which turned out to be just more fleecing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was one of the very few lucky ones who got lucky where I got a college scholarship, which turned out to be a scam. $1 million of this money, of this $2 million. $2 million were donated to try as a test group, as a test group to see if 128 guys who got college educations would be less likely to recidivate. So they gave $2 million. Halfway through this, about 2 years, they came to us and said, "Gentlemen, we have bad news." What is that? Well, we seem to have mislocated $1 million. Where'd it go? Well, we don't know. I said, you're teaching us how to manage money and economics and accounting, and you mean to tell me that you just lost $1 million? He said, "Hey, don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you. So sorry, we can't give you the education we wanted. We can give you the certificate. You got 2 years to
a bunch of people who were on your side. That's why we're here."
Right, exactly. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm on your side.
Exactly what's happening here. That's why we're here.
I saw what they did though. Here's how they scammed it. The whole million. I saw the whole thing. So the Department of Justice donated $1 million of them, and Bill Gates Foundation gave it $1 million too. So it was Department of Justice and Bill Gates. But they had the prison said, "Hey, listen, we're teaching these students everything here, but we needed materials to teach them." And then they went, "Okay, well, like what?" "Well, desks and computers and pens and papers and all." So they walked through the entire school building and slapped a DOJ sticker on everything. Bang, bang, bang. Table, chairs, desks. There was a computer lab. I was there for 4 years. A whole computer lab. 25 computers. They each had their own little cubby. Never turned them on one time. Not once. We never got the chance to use them. For some reason, they wouldn't work. They couldn't hook them up. The system wouldn't receive it. The server didn't work, or blah, blah, blah. So that was all part of the scam. We never even got to, but we did have a $190 calculator that we used for one class. They gave us there he is. We each got a $190 calculator that we used for one math class, like a next level up from 101 algebra, the next level up. And then the next level after that was like some kind of like trig type of stuff, which I cheated the whole way. It's the only class I cheated because I'm terrible at math. There's no way I could do it. I couldn't do it. There's no freaking way. The other class, to get a B in it, I had to study like 5 hours a day. I hate math. Hate it. Albert, my friend Albert.
I had to take trig in college because I was a computer programmer, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of blew it off in high school and phoned it in. In college, I had to go back all the way to math models, which is embarrassing for me. And I had to go back and go all the way up to calculus and trig, right? And top it off, I'm getting high and I'm not going to class. So at some point I realized like I'm not going to be able to progress if I don't pass calculus and trig. So I got the teacher to talk to me after class and stuff and re-explain it and everything.
Yeah.
The lowest point of my life, like he shows me and I go, okay, so this, and this, and this. And he goes, "Wow, you're not stupid." I'm like, people are saying I'm stupid?
Well, yeah, right. People saying that?
Go shoot the messenger. I was like,
right.
Oh, crap. Like, wow.
Oh, you're
really?
not as stupid as people are saying.
I'm like, I'm not stupid. I'm high.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was shocked.
That's the witty stuff that I wish I would have said, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like you said what I would have wanted to say. I'm not stupid. I'm just high, man.
Point Jansen says, why don't drug addicts move to a legal drug state? Because we're not clear thinking people when we're on drugs.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of that, where is a legal drug state? There is no such thing.
You do fine there.
It's not a state.
Oh yeah, California, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's California. I mean, I think you can get caught with drugs in San Francisco and Portland and Seattle.
It's interesting that I've been doing some work with West Coast JC, and there is a concerted Republican presence there.
Oh, yeah.
Think about. Yeah, because I'm always thinking liberal. And then when you start talking, like JC's very active in the conservative movement, things like that. It's like, wow, there is actually a very...
Oh, yeah, lots of them. Do you remember my friend David Garcia, the one who died? You remember? Yeah. I've told he was like a head dude in the movement called the State of Jefferson, which is a part of central northern California that wants to secede from California and be its own republic, a Republican community. Like he was just Mexican. Like this guy was Mexican as they get, bro. Freaking like he actually came here as an illegal. He came legally, but his family came. Anyways, Awesome dude, amazing dude. Heartbroken that he died sick. Anyways, but he was all for the state of Jefferson. So if you don't know about the state of Jefferson, look it up. It's a conservative Republican movement, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of people. But just like anything else, most of Michigan is conservative, but the concentration of people who are liberals are all in major cities: Flint, Detroit, Grand Rapids.
Even the Catholic Church is pretty liberal up there.
Where?
Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. So they're all liberals, and the reason they're liberals is because liberals are the ones who promise money, give them money, and so they're like, yeah, well, but you look at this. I mean, we could go around and around at this. If you look at the Democratic-run cities, they're all criminal wastelands. Chicago and Detroit, Atlanta, Baltimore, New York, and Los Angeles. What they're doing isn't working, so I think a lot of people from those communities, are just finally starting to wake up. And it's not because anything you or I said, but I think it has to do with a lot of their own community. There are people in their own community are finally starting to say, you know what, man, let me go ahead and listen to this guy. And then he's like, wow, that makes sense. Then he gets on TikTok or his platform or Instagram or his YouTube and says, listen, guys. And then people start going, oh, it's a black dude saying this. Let me listen. And then they go, wow, that makes sense. And before you know it, I think these liberal cities are going to swing the other way. I hope. I don't know. I like Burger King, though. What's up with Burger King? What is that? Cheese?
Speaking of people that should be incarcerated, they came up with the ultimate cheeseburger in Thailand. It's nothing but stacked up with processed cheese.
Is there a burger in there?
No, there's no burger in there.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That's what I'm saying. People like this walk free.
That's so bad.
Well, innocent pot smokers are in prison.
That's something my uncle Pete.
Yeah, the reviews are horrible. They're like, dude, this is going to kill people. It's just awful. Yeah. And they're like, I put a little ketchup on it. Didn't help. It's just nasty.
Ugh. I do like a nice Whopper once in a while, though. I mean, I don't eat fast food almost ever, but I think I had like a Burger King like one time in the last couple of years. I was leaving the doctor's, and I said, stop and get a Whopper and fries. Burger King's good. I like Burger King.
It's okay.
It's okay. I mean, it's a nice treat.
Breakfast meal is not as good as McDonald's.
McDonald's got it better. They got the no. I like the French toast Dunkin' sticks.
I like the steak bagel. I think there's nothing better.
Yeah, I like Burger King's Dunkin'
800 calories.
Man, you just got me thinking about those French toast sticks at Burger King. Those things are good, man. I used to get those all the time.
I eat the enormous burrito there sometimes.
The nearest Burger King to me is 35 miles away or something.
Yeah, I got some app that's got me on a weight loss diet and stuff, so I can't eat breakfast.
How far is the nearest Burger King to you?
Oh, like 5 minutes. Everything's 5 minutes from me.
Yeah.
I'll pass 4 Burger Kings on the way to work.
Well,
I'm in the city, bro. Everything I want is right there all the time.
That's the nice thing about living in the city.
Yep.
As much extra virgin olive oil as the last.
Well, I'd buy crack if I wanted to right now.
I'm sure you could. Not very far, anyways.
I'm proud to say I wouldn't know where to go.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't either, but I trust me. Like when I first started using heroin, for example, it went from pain pills. So I got hurt, started taking pain pills, and of course I'm a street guy, so I know a million different people. And I call around like, "Yo, nobody's got some Vicodins? You know, nobody's got some pain pills?" And then phone rings, and I'm like, "All right, I'll go over there. Give me those 90 Vicodins for $100. Give me and I just buy them. But then eventually you eat up all your pills, and you can't get any more pills, and you're like, and somebody says, "Here, do heroin. It does the same thing." And you snort something, like, "Oh, it does the same thing." Then I'm like, well, I can't get heroin. Like I had one dude I could get heroin from in Mount Clemens, I remember, and I couldn't find him. So I was like dope sick. So I just drove down in the hood, man. Drove down Gratiot until I was about 5 miles in the city, and saw some black dude. And I pulled over and said, "Hey, man, you know where I can get some H?" He says, "Yeah, man, come here. Let me jump in the car. Just turn around right here." And a lot of them you got to be careful. They're like, "Yeah, give me the money. I'll run in this building and get it." And they're like, "Yeah, go outside." And no, don't work like that. Go get it and bring it back.
Don't do that.
Well, you go ahead and get it. I remember one guy did it to me. He says, "This is a funny story." He says, he gets out of the car and he says, "Give me the money. I'm going to run in and get it." And I said, "Nah, I'll wait." He says, "Just give me the money. I'll go in and grab it, man. It's just right in the door there." I said, "Go grab it and bring it out to me, whatever." And he looks at me down. He goes, "Man, what's up with you, man? Don't you know I'm a gangster?" That's what he says to me. "Don't you know I'm a gangster?" Says that to me. And I go, pulled my pistol out and cocked it. I said, "Me too, mother effer." And that dude was like, "Whoa." He looked so scared. He instantly was like, "Whoa." And he just took off walking down the street and left. I said, "Yeah, me too, mother effer. You're going to be a gangster? Show me." That's what I said. "Show me how gangster you are, mother effer." I almost took his gun. I'm thinking about taking his gun. I think he either flashed one or said he had one. And then, by the way, just on that particular day, I just went up to the door and knocked on the door. And I said, "Yo, I'm looking for some blow." And it was an old man. He actually did have a gun in his hand. And he said, "Yeah," and sold me some dope. So that's Detroit.
Somebody did me for $15 once, and I swear to God, I had everybody in the neighborhood looking for this guy. And
I've been got a few times. I've been got.
Yeah. When they're like, "What did he get you for?" And I'm like, $15. They're like, "What?" I was embarrassed.
Yeah. Well, dude, in Detroit, you don't want to go looking for $15, man. You know,
no, they didn't want to either. Everybody was like, "Get the freak out of here, man." Yeah. I was like,
I had guys get me though for like $100.
Looking for this guy, for $15.
I had guys get me for like, I don't know how much. I've had guys get me for like 50, 100, maybe 100 or two. But I also got some drug dealers with a bunch of fake money one time, and they knew I got them with the fake money, and they were scared to say something because they knew I was a gangster. I just went over there and bought like $400 or $500 worth of dope with fake money, funny money. Yeah. Then I came back and went to buy some more, and they're like, "Oh, I can't take those hundreds, man." I'm like, "Why not?" He's like, "Oh, I just can't." I'm like, they knew I just burned them for $500, but they also were really scared of me, and I was trigger happy and gangster, so they didn't say nothing. I had some dude with me too. He was like,
well, they could still spend the $500.
Yeah, they could. They just didn't want. I'm sure that's probably what they did. They weren't too worried about it because of that. But they were maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Somebody figured it out. One of them figured it out. They were looking at it, but I always came with good money usually too. I always had a knot full of hundreds, and I'd always be like, "Let me get 500 or whatever it was." I was like, when I wasn't selling heroin, when I went down to the city to buy like heroin for myself, I'd buy $400 or $500 at a time. You know what I'm saying? Right. I wasn't a guy who bought.
It's a place to spend bad money, because they're going to call cops.
I'm not saying there wasn't my share of days when I went down to the city with only $20 and I was jonesing where I didn't have no freaking money and I was sick and I was just like, go down to dope house and let me get two, and bet $20. But 2 hours later, I go rob something and have $3,000 in my pocket, and then I go back and go let me get 500. It was rare that I went down there and only got a couple of packs. It was usually $400 or $500 worth. And then I started selling heroin just because it was easier that way. I could get high on my own supply and make money doing it. But dangerous game though, man. I got shot over a heroin deal. I mean, and shot a guy. Just it's an ugly business, man. Scales.
Not safe, but not terribly dangerous. And I can honestly say, like, from the time I was in Tampa for 20 years, there was never a time where you couldn't get anything you want anytime.
Yeah. Well, I don't know Tampa, but it's not limitless. Detroit. Detroit's a different.
What are you willing to do where do you want to go? How bad do you want to go? But it was
Detroit.
Detroit seemed worse to me when I was up there, but that was later.
Detroit is it's a different monster in itself, bro.
Plus, I was an old guy back when I was in Detroit.
I saw a lot of bad stuff in Detroit.
Yeah, I wasn't young in Detroit.
I just told, yeah, exactly. When you're young, it's different. I
was way out of the game when I was in Detroit.
I told my wife the other day a story how I seen this girl shoot a guy and kill him right in front of you when I was at some house in Detroit. Just saw bad stuff. I was just sitting on the floor playing video game with my friend Chuck. Chuck is, I want to say Juan, that's his cousin. And he was selling pills for me, which are Tylenol 3s and weed. And anyways, the girl, I'm going to tell the story on a YouTube video one of these days. I told it before, but I'll tell it again because I was thinking about it. I told my wife about it because I don't think I'd ever told her. I said, "Yeah, I tell you that this freaking chick shot this freaking dude right in front of me." And he had beat her up earlier. And then I showed up and I said, "Chuck, I gave him like a pound of weed and stuff, and took some money. And the dude who she shot didn't like me because his ex-wife lived there, but they weren't together anymore. She was always flirting with me, this black chick. She was super flirty with me, and like she was always talking about hooking up with me. I didn't even know that's her ex-husband. He was always sitting there. This guy's he's like tattooed. He's pretty buff. He's got tattoos on. It's hot in the summer. He's got no shirt on. He's just sitting there on the couch. And there's a couple. This is where they sell crack and dope, and it's kind of like they live in this house, but they do slang bundles of heroin, several $100s at a time, or like large quantities of crack. Their dope house is about a half mile away. But Chuck, the nephew who lived there with his aunt, his mom, and his sister, he sold weed from me out of this house and pills. So I just come by every once in a while. And I knew everybody because their dope house is down the road. And anyways, I didn't know that that dude who's the ex-husband who didn't like me, and I knew he didn't like me because she was always flirting with me and he'd be mean mugging me, and I'm like, I just thought he just didn't like me because it's like, this black chick's hitting on this white dude. I don't know what she did. I didn't know what his problem was. Then later she said, "Oh, that's my ex-husband." I'm like, "Why is he here?" She's like, "Well, he stays with me." I'm like, "We're not together." She was throwing herself at me, but she was a part-time crack smoker. I'm like, "There's no way I'm not going to sleep with a part-time crack smoker." But there's her sister. Her name was Sabrina. Was a little skinny chick, little skinny crackhead looking chick. She was nice. I liked her. She was super nice. But she was just like she was a serious crackhead. And then their older sister Pam was like a dope. She was like Rosalba Blanco, bro. She was like this black chick draped in gold. She sat in that other dope house all day and upstairs and slang crack all day. She had like 2 or 3 like dudes that would be bodyguards sitting around all day. She would smoke crack all day. She was covered in jewelry and drugs. Anyways, she'd buy weed from me once in a while, so that's why I go over there. And she'd only want to trade me rocks for weed. I'm like, I don't want rocks. She's like, well, you can sell them. I'm like, I don't sell crack, and I don't know anybody who smokes crack. Just take this and get. So you give me $50 worth of crack for like a nickel bag. I'm like, all right, I'll sell that. Anyways, so I'm sitting there, and I didn't know this dude had freaking shot this chick. This dude had beat this chick just a couple hours or an hour ago, whatever it was. And he said, my boy Chuck says, sit down and play a game of whatever the game was before you go. I said, all right. So I sit there and play, and the door opens. It's right next to me. I'm sitting on the floor and all of a sudden I up now and I hear a gun go and I hear bang. And she shoots him. Shoots him right in the chest. Like right by me. I hear, what's down, mother effer? What the frick? I turn around. The dude was like this, just looking at himself like this. And then he freaking fell back and died.
Oh, man, what a way to go.
The heart shot, right in the heart with a 22. Guy was dead in like 30 seconds.
Just a 22.
Just a 22, right dead center. He looked at it, looked up, started choking. He started convulsing. He was out. And before he was dead, I was just, he died quick. I stayed to watch him die because I was in shock. And then I'm out, bro. I'm not sticking around for this. I'm not a witness. I didn't see nothing. She didn't get charged, by the way. So here's the story behind him was he had been in prison for raping and beating a woman. And she knew that. And so she basically said, he beat me up and threatened to rape me. And I said, if you do that again, I'm going to kill you. And he came here and he threatened me. And so nothing happened. They let her out. No charges. It was in Detroit.
Nobody cared about him.
Nobody cared about him. But anyways, yeah. Spend enough time in Detroit, you see a lot of really a lot of bad stuff, man. So I'm glad I'm not around there anymore. I'd rather see.
Well,
I
got to roll.
All right, go. God bless you. Go. You got to pick up the intern.
No, I got to use the restroom.
He's got a car now, right? So he can drive himself.
Yeah. I've been drinking for an hour and a half.
Well, let it go, man. God bless everybody. Thanks for being here. Bill, call me if you need me. I'll see you Friday. I know we got guests. We got some authors. I know you'll come up with some interesting cartel stories or whatever it is. You come up with street beats every week, so I appreciate that.
Favorite time of the week.
It is. My second favorite time of the week. Second to this. We can just bullshit. Everyone, thanks for being here. Listen, the laws of justice, the scales of justice, there really aren't. But in the end, I'll leave you on this. I do believe, as far as I know, that America is probably the most justified justice system in the world, unless you can point somewhere else that is. He says Norway or Denmark or something. Maybe.
I don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't have any clue either, but compared to most of the country, or most of the world, we are still more fair than others, but still absolutely corrupt and scandalous and injustice. It sucks. Stay out of trouble. Don't break the law. Don't commit no crimes. Just stay the F out of any system that can suck you in. Otherwise, you get in the vortex. You may never come back out. Trust me, I've seen it happen.
End up like this guy.
You end up like that guy. I didn't do it. Have a good week. Dan, thank you for being here, Dan, for being my mom. Nikki, God bless. Have a great night, Sandra, Carol Lake, everybody else. We appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. Final call. We're gonna think of something for next week. If you think of something, go ahead and drop a comment and drop a comment. But by the way, make sure to check out my books, by the way, too. To Be a King, Volume 1 and 2. I never plug my books. Got to do them. Just read the reviews. Check out the reviews. Click on the link. Read the reviews. Say, what's the deal with these books? There they are. Trust me. I'll give your money back if you don't love them. Personally, just click on. I didn't love them. I've never had anyone who read them and said, I didn't love them. I've had people say, I was a hater of yours, not a fan of you, but read your books. Dude, you're the truth on that book tip. I've had people say it. True story.
Let's reach out to him personally. He'll sign it.
Yeah, I'll sign it. Be happy to. So God bless everybody. Have a great week. See you next week. Now,
peace.
Bill.